Zhao Lingshan's teeth itched with hatred, but she didn't know what to say. The person in front of her was someone her father had explicitly told her to build a good relationship with. Zhao Lingshan was very clear about how much effort and what price her father had paid to establish a good relationship with Qin Chen. Moreover, her master, Grandmaster Liang Yu, also cared a lot about Qin Chen, instructing her to get to know him well. Forget it. Thinking of this, Zhao Lingshan stopped talking. What are you standing there for? Sit down. Qin Chen stretched comfortably, patted the soft couch, and said, seeing Zhao Lingshan still standing in the carriage. Zhao Lingshan blushed with anger. You're lying here so sprawled out and you want me to sit. If outsiders see this, who knows what they'll think happened. Don't you consider a girl's reputation at all? Are you worried I'll do something? Seeing Zhao Lingshan's expression, Qin Chen realized what she was thinking and said speechlessly, don't worry, I'm not interested in you. You. Clenching her fists, Zhao Lingshan ground her tiger teeth back and forth, so angry she was about to explode. She, one of the 4 great beauties of the Great Qi Kingdom, was actually told he wasn't interested in her. For a girl, this was even more infuriating than doubting her strength. I'm not afraid of you. Zhao Lingshan sat down on the couch with a cold snort in her heart. After waiting for a while, she thought Qin Chen would say something, but after a long time, there wasn't any sound. Why aren't you talking? Turning her head, she saw Qin Chen lying on the bed, already fast asleep. These days, Qin Chen had been cultivating hard. Although for a martial artist, not resting for a few days wouldn't be anything, and as their strength increased, they wouldn't feel tired, only more energetic. But after so many days without a good night's sleep, Qin Chen, suddenly lying on such a soft couch, immediately fell asleep. Zhao Lingshan was stunned, then speechless. She was overthinking things, who knew Qin Chen hadn't taken it to heart at all and had just fallen asleep. Watching Qin Chen sleeping there, Zhao Lingshan gazed at Qin Chen's face, a strange emotion suddenly rising in her heart. This was the young man who, in this short month, had stirred up a huge storm in the royal capital, but no one realized that he was actually just a teenager. From a young man who was called trash, he grew into the top scorer in the Sky Star Academy entrance exam, and endured so much gossip in the royal capital. What kind of terrifying power was contained in this thin body? Zhao Lingshan felt tenderness in her heart, and a blush crept onto her face, incomparably charming. With Gang Lai and Wu Tao leading the way, the carriage traveled smoothly and quickly arrived at the palace. In a courtyard of the palace, 3 young men and women had already gathered here. In addition, there was also a group of extraordinary imperial guards, guarding the surroundings. 4th Prince, long time no see. Your Highness's cultivation is becoming more and more profound. If we fight again now, I'm afraid I won't be able to withstand a few of your Highness's moves. It's truly shameful for us. In the hall, a young man wearing a luxurious martial robe and with deep features was smiling at a handsome young man wearing a gold and silver robe, with a 5-clawed golden python embroidered on his chest. Young Marquis Zhang, you're too modest. After not seeing you for many days, your cultivation has also broken through to the late Earth realm. Breaking through to the Heaven realm on this trip to the Blood Spirit Pool is just around the corner. The handsome young man wearing the 5-clawed golden python robe smiled faintly. Your Highness, calling me young Marquis makes me feel extremely apprehensive. In the future, Your Highness can just call me by my name, Zhang Yi. Moreover, although Zhang Yi has broken through to the late Earth realm, he is still far from being comparable to Your Highness, like a firefly compared to the bright moon. I'm ashamed, truly ashamed. This young man named Zhang Yi was extremely humble, constantly saying. This person is the son of Marquis Zhengyan, Zhang Xiaojun, and is also one of the 8 geniuses entering this blood spirit pool baptism. Marquis Zhengyan, Zhang Xiaojun, is a figure of great renown, one of the most famous marquises in the Great Qi Kingdom, and can be said to have made outstanding achievements. However, in recent years, Marquis Zhengyan has been squeezed out in the court, and his position is very unstable, so this Zhang Yi is also in urgent need of building good relationships in the court for his father. HMPH. At this moment, a cold snort came, and a slender woman with a beautiful appearance chuckled as she glanced at Zhang Yi, a faint hint of disdain on her lips, Fourth brother, who is this person? He's too good at flattering, isn't he? He actually compares himself to you as a firefly to the bright moon. He's one of the contestants in our great Qi Kingdom's 5 nations grand competition this time. If that's the case, wouldn't it mean that the geniuses our great Qi Kingdom has selected are all a bunch of good-for-nothings? If that's the case, I'm afraid I'll have to tell father to see if our great Qi Kingdom should replace such contestants. Princess Sixyun, this. Zhang Yi's forehead was sweating, extremely embarrassed. Sixth sister, why are you talking like that? The fourth prince shook his head helplessly. Young Marquis Zhang is just being modest. Modest. Zixyun smiled faintly, but the disdain in her eyebrows was not concealed at all. Princess Sixyun looked towards the corner and suddenly said, "You two are the geniuses from this year's Sky Star Academy." In front of Princess Sixyun, how can we be called geniuses? Li Qingfeng hurriedly stood up, respectfully. He was arrogant and domineering in front of Wei Zhen and others, but in front of Princess Sixyun, how dare he be disrespectful in the slightest? Princess Sixyun is the most beloved princess of Emperor Zhao Jing of the Great Qi Kingdom, and her talent is extremely high. At only 19 years old, she is already a peak late-stage Earth Realm expert. It is said that her cultivation is on par with that of the fourth prince, and she is the most famous heroine of the Great Qi Kingdom. Princess Sixyun is also one of the 4 great beauties of the Great Qi Kingdom, and ranks first among the 4 great beauties. Aside, Wang Qiming also hurriedly stood up. As a commoner, although he was arrogant in his heart, he was still a little nervous and uneasy on his first visit to the palace. These were all princes and princesses of the Great Qi Kingdom. In the past, just saying a word could cause these commoner children to be ruined and their families destroyed. You are from the Wuan Marquis family, right? Yes, Your Highness Princess Sixyun, I am Li Qingfeng, the direct son of the Wuan Marquis. Li Qingfeng was overjoyed, not expecting Princess Sixyun to have heard of him. Another flatterer. No wonder I heard you only got 2nd place in this year's year-end exam. Princess Sixyun shook her head, and Li Qingfeng's originally excited expression instantly collapsed, extremely embarrassed. And you, a commoner, even if you have some talent, you are only a peak early-stage Earth Realm martial artist. Among the geniuses of my great Qi Kingdom, there are plenty with higher cultivation than you. I really don't understand why father wants you few to participate in the blood spirit pool baptism as well. Sixth sister. The fourth prince frowned. Don't say any more. How can you and I presume to discuss father's decision? Your Highness the fourth prince, I think Princess Sixyun's words make a lot of sense. People like these wastes, it would be fine if they were arrogant in the royal capital on ordinary days, but they actually obtained the opportunity to enter the blood spirit pool. If the other geniuses from the Northwest 5 nations see this, they might think that the geniuses of my great Qi Kingdom are all a bunch of trash. Just then, a loud and sharp voice came in. Everyone turned their heads and saw a young man wearing a blue martial robe and with an extraordinary aura walking into the courtyard. He walked with the stride of a dragon and the gait of a tiger, his eyes shining brightly. Between his brows, a faint arrogance emerged, as if he were the most esteemed person in the room, looking down upon everything. Qin Feng. In the courtyard, the pupils of the fourth prince and the others suddenly contracted. Brother Qin. Zhang Yi quickly stood up, smiling as he stepped forward. Your Highness, fourth prince, Princess Sixyun, long time no see, how have you been? Qin Feng smiled slightly, passing by Zhang Yi without even looking at him, leaving Zhang Yi standing there awkwardly. Arriving closer, he spoke calmly to the fourth prince and Princess Sixyun, his tone firm and resonant, as if greeting two old friends. Thank you for your concern, Brother Qin. The fourth prince smiled, but his pupils contracted slightly, revealing his unease. Years ago, he and Qin Feng were both students of Tianxing Academy, the unparalleled geniuses and stars of their generation. However, in the final year-end exam, after hundreds of exchanges, he was ultimately outmatched and defeated by Qin Feng in the arena. For many years, this matter had weighed heavily on the fourth prince's mind. He had diligently practiced, hoping to one day regain his lost dignity. However, after graduation, Qin Feng directly followed Dingwu King Qin Baishan to the battlefield and had been gone for many years. Now, seeing Qin Feng again, The fourth prince had the feeling that Qin Feng was even more terrifying than he had been back then, like a sheathed sword, with even the thick scabbard unable to conceal his overwhelming aura. The atmosphere in the courtyard instantly became very strange due to Qin Feng's arrival. Has my good brother not arrived yet? After greeting him, Qin Feng scanned the hall, his tone calm, and finally his gaze landed on Li Qingfeng and Wang Qiming. Your Highness, fourth prince, I think it is necessary to suggest to His Majesty that the opportunity for these people to enter the blood spirit pool should be revoked. Allowing these trash to enter the blood spirit pool is not only a waste of 4 precious opportunities, but also an insult to the face of our great Qi kingdom. Upon hearing this, Li Qingfeng and Wang Qiming's expressions changed drastically. It was too much. Qin Feng was clearly calling them trash. His expression changed several times, but Li Qingfeng ultimately lowered his head, pretending not to hear the words. You are only a few years older than us, what's so great about that? In 10 years, who knows who will have a higher cultivation? Wang Qiming couldn't help but retort coldly, a fighting spirit blazing between his brows. What did you say? Qin Feng was surprised that someone dared to refute him. He turned his head, a hint of coldness flashing in his eyes. So you're just a commoner. Say that again. Wang Qiming gripped his battle blade, his entire body surging with fighting spirit. The aura of an early-stage peak Earth realm cultivator emanated from him, like an unyielding war god. A commoner is a commoner. No matter how many times I say it, it won't change your commoner nature. Qin Feng sneered. When did even a commoner dare to speak to him like this? It seemed that in the years he had been away from the capital, many people had forgotten his existence. He stepped forward, his inner qi circulating. It seemed it was time to establish his authority. Boom! A terrifying pressure, like a mountain, bore down on Wang Qiming. Qin Feng, this is the Imperial Palace. The fourth prince shouted coldly. Qin Feng was going too far, treating the Imperial Palace like what? Qin Feng, do you dare to make a move in the Imperial Palace? Are you trying to rebel? Princess Sixyun also reprimanded. Your Highness, fourth prince, Princess Sixyun, why do you say that? You both saw earlier that this boy provoked me first and wanted to attack me. Qin Feng said indifferently, not showing the slightest restraint despite the fourth prince and Princess Sixyun's scolding. Please rest assured, I won't do anything to him. I, Qin, just want to see how the cultivation of this year's geniuses from Tianxing Academy is. Boom! Under the terrifying aura, Wang Qiming's face was pale, and cold sweat dripped from his forehead. The aura was so terrifying, like a raging wave, constantly sweeping over him, making it incredibly difficult to even draw his sword. Impossible, this is impossible. Wang Qiming gritted his teeth, staring at Qin Feng with red eyes, his legs trembling under the pressure. Is this the former #1 genius of the capital? Is this the peerless prodigy of the Qin family? He's only a few years older than me, why is he so much stronger? You want to draw your sword against me? Do you know that on the frontier battlefield, all those who dared to draw their swords against me are already dead? Qin Feng slowly stepped forward, his brows cold and indifferent, like a blade. Boom! The energy comes out of the body, Wang Qiming groaned, fly out backwards, falling heavily to the ground, blood oozing from the corner of his mouth. Ideographic period. An ant is just an ant. With a disdainful smile, Qin Feng turned his head, sat on a chair, calm and composed, and said to the angry fourth prince and Princess Sixyun, Your Highness, fourth prince, Princess Sixyun, you don't need to be alarmed or angry. I was just sparring with this so-called genius of this year's Tianxing Academy. As I expected, they are nothing more than that. On the field, everyone's expression was unsightly, but no one spoke. Li Qingfeng's face was pale, and he glanced at Qin Feng tremulously, his heart filled with horror. He knew Wang Qiming's strength very well. Back then, in the year-end exam, he had spent a lot of effort to defeat him. Now, half a month had passed, and Wang Qiming's cultivation was obviously stronger than before, but in front of Qin Feng, he was not even a match for one move. He was only blown away by the released energy. How could Qin Feng be so strong? I'm afraid that even if it were him, he wouldn't be a match for him in one move. Are you all right? The fourth prince helped Wang Qiming up, took out a healing pill, fed it to him, and then said to a nearby imperial guard, "Help him go to rest." "Thank you for your concern, Your Highness. I'm fine." Wang Qiming shook his head, gritting his teeth as he stood up, his expression stubborn. What an unyielding young man. The fourth prince sighed, but didn't say anything. After this interlude, the atmosphere in the entire hall suddenly became extremely strange, silent, and heavy. Creak, creak. At this moment, the sound of a carriage suddenly rang out outside the hall. Everyone looked up and saw a huge carriage, led by two teams of imperial guards, slowly stopping at the entrance of the hall. "It's the Kan Prince's carriage, it's Lingshan coming." Princess Xixun's expression lit up, and she rushed out, pulling open the carriage curtain. The next moment, the expression on her face instantly froze, her eyes bulging round, as if she had seen something unbelievable. You. She pointed at the inside of the carriage with her finger, stepping back, as if she had seen a ghost. Everyone looked at Princess Xixun in confusion, wondering what she had seen that had shocked her so much. Under the gaze of the crowd, they saw a pair of men's legs stepping down from the carriage. Why is there a man coming out of Princess Lingshan's carriage? Everyone's expressions were the same as Princess Xixun's, their eyes popping out, almost going crazy. Zhao Lingshan, as one of the four beauties of the Great Qi Kingdom, was extremely popular in the royal capital. Moreover, due to her noble status, the men pursuing her could line up from the east gate to the west gate. However, no one had ever heard of Zhao Lingshan having any connection with any man. Now, seeing a man stepping down from Zhao Lingshan's carriage shocked everyone beyond words. If this were to spread, it would definitely cause a huge uproar among the younger generation in the royal capital. Who are you? Why were you in Lingshan's carriage? Confess truthfully. Coming back to her senses, Princess Xixun's expression was furious, and a terrifying killing intent swept out, crashing onto the man who stepped down from the carriage. At this moment, the man's face was also revealed to everyone. How could it be him? Li Qingfeng's expression instantly petrified, becoming as stiff as a wooden chicken, his eyeballs almost popping out. Qin Feng was also dumbfounded, his mouth wide open, as if he had seen a ghost. After many years, Qin Chen's temperament had undergone earth-shattering changes compared to 4 or 5 years ago, but Qin Feng still recognized Qin Chen's appearance at a glance. Arrived. Is this the palace? I haven't slept enough yet. Stepping down from the carriage, Qin Chen yawned sleepily as he looked around. Thump. Asterisk. Li Qingfeng staggered, almost falling to the ground. As a son of a noble family, he could tell at a glance that Zhao Lingshan's carriage was actually a horse-drawn bed. Combining this with what Qin Chen had said earlier, Li Qingfeng's mind immediately conjured up the scene of Qin Chen and Zhao Lingshan lying together on this horse-drawn bed, and he couldn't help but want to vomit blood. Zhao Lingshan was like a goddess in the hearts of the younger generation in the royal capital. If the many youths of the royal capital knew that the goddess and Qin Chen were actually lying on the same horse-drawn bed, they would probably go crazy. You lecherous scoundrel, how dare you do such a dirty thing to my Lingshan sister? You're courting death. Hearing what Qin Chen said, Princess Xixun's hair stood on end, and she transformed into a bolt of lightning, pouncing fiercely towards Qin Chen. She was determined to capture Qin Chen, no matter who he was, and teach him a severe lesson first. Xixun sister, stop. Things are not what you think. His name is Qin Chen, and he is the champion of the Tianxing Academy's year-end exam. Like me, he came to the palace to be baptized in the blood spirit pool. You misunderstood him. Zhao Lingshan was a little slower, and seeing this scene, she was immediately frightened, her face paling, and she hurriedly stood in front of Qin Chen. What? He is Qin Chen. Princess Xixun was stunned, and then her anger intensified. Lingshan sister, don't be fooled by this guy. Just because he's a champion doesn't mean he's great. Men are all bad news. Seeing that Lingshan was actually defending Qin Chen, Princess Xixun became even more angry. She knew Zhao Lingshan too well. Although she looked indifferent on the outside, she was gentle and very naive. This Qin Chen must have used some sweet words to deceive Zhao Lingshan. Get out of the way and let me teach him a lesson. Xixun sister, you really misunderstood. Qin Chen and I met on the way. Because we were tired, we rode in the same carriage. It's not what you think. Zhao Lingshan's face was flushed, and feeling the scorching gazes of the crowd, she wished she could find a hole to crawl into. You met on the way and got into her carriage. Did he do anything to you? Qin Chen, if you have the guts, don't hide behind a woman. Stand out for me. Princess Zixun looked Zhao Lingshan up and down, as if to see if she had been violated. Zixun sister. Zhao Lingshan's face was flushed, like a ripe apple, and she stomped her feet in anger. County Princess Lingshan, who exactly is this crazy woman? She's simply inexplicable. Qin Chen frowned. He had just gotten out of the carriage and was being scolded by this woman pointing at his forehead. Even if he had a good temper, he was about to explode. Crazy woman. Everyone was stunned in place, petrified, their faces as constipated, almost going crazy. Who is this? The sixth princess most beloved by the emperor of the Great Qi Kingdom. She was actually called a crazy woman. Did I hear correctly? Li Qingfeng and the others only felt dizzy and almost fainted to the ground. Qin Chen was too bold to say that to Princess Zixun. Wasn't he afraid of being beheaded? Qin Chen, Zixun's sister is His Majesty's sixth princess. Zhao Lingshan stomped her feet and said. Princess. This crazy woman is a princess. Qin Chen suspiciously sized up Zixun, speechless. She looks okay, but her temper is too bad. Is this the legendary big breasts, no brains? His gaze fell on Zixun's two peaks, and Qin Chen marveled. It had to be said that Princess Zixun's breasts were very majestic. Perhaps because of her age, they were a whole size larger than County Princess Lingshan, and her figure was even hotter. Who are you calling a crazy woman? Zixun glared at Qin Chen angrily, almost going crazy. Especially Qin Chen's eyes, which were staring at places he shouldn't be looking at, made her want to dig out his eyes. Qin Chen, this is His Majesty's most beloved Princess Zixun. What kind of attitude is this? Quickly apologize to Princess Zixun. Zhang Yi stood up and reprimanded, his brow filled with righteousness, and coldly said to Qin Chen. He was secretly delighted. This was a good opportunity to please Princess Zixun. Who are you? Qin Chen frowned. Why were there so many ignorant people? He narrowed his eyes and looked at Qin Feng in the hall. Could it be that he was secretly instigating this? I am Zhang Yi, the direct son of Marquis Zhenan. If you know what's good for you, immediately apologize to Princess Zixun. Otherwise, don't blame me, Zhang, for being impolite to you. Inexplicable. Qin Chen frowned, too lazy to pay attention to him, and walked towards the hall. Did I let you go? Princess Zixun shouted coldly and was about to step forward. Princess Zixun, dealing with this kind of person would only dirty your hands. Let me teach this kid a lesson, Zhang Yi volunteered and walked up to block Qin Chen. Zixun's sister, you really misunderstood. Zhao Lingshan was almost going crazy. Why wouldn't she listen to reason? Get out of the way. Qin Chen's eyes narrowed. Zhang Yi sneered, somewhat sarcastically. Kid, I know you are the first in this year's Qianxing Academy year-end exam, but in my eyes, your so-called champion is nothing more than that. I advise you to apologize to Princess Zixun immediately, otherwise, I will let you know what regret is. He knew that Qin Feng was also very unhappy with Qin Chen, and even issued a life and death challenge to Qin Chen a few days ago, but Qin Chen did not come because he was afraid. If he taught Qin Chen a lesson on the spot today, he would not only please Princess Zixun, but also curry favor with Qin Feng, which could be described as killing two birds with one stone. Zhang Yi, don't do anything. At this time, the fourth prince frowned and said, Your Highness the fourth prince. Zhang Yi turned around and respectfully said to the fourth prince, Your Highness, this is not true. I just want Qin Chen to admit his mistake, not to attack him. Of course, if he refuses to admit his mistake, I would also like to learn about the strength of this year's year-end exam champion. Clap clap. A burst of applause rang out outside the hall. Young Marquis Zhang, well said. A young man wearing a five-clawed golden python robe walked in from outside the hall with a group of subordinates. Greetings, Your Highness the Crown Prince. All the imperial guards present knelt on one knee upon seeing the person who had arrived. The person who had arrived was the Crown Prince of the Great Qi Kingdom, Zhao Feng. Greetings, Your Highness the Crown Prince. Zhang Yi, Li Qingfeng, and the others hurriedly and respectfully bowed. Looking nervous, Qin Feng also stood up at the side and bowed, saying, "Greetings, Your Highness the Crown Prince. You may dispense with the formalities." Zhao Feng waved his hand, then walked up to Qin Feng in a few steps. He hastily helped Qin Feng up and said with a smile, "Why must Brother Qin be so courteous?" His attitude was gentle, as if he were greeting an old friend. Qin Feng smiled and said, "Your Highness is the Crown Prince of my great Qi Kingdom, the future Emperor. How dare Qin Feng be impolite?" "Hey, you're wrong to say that," Zhao Feng chided. "What's between you and me? Don't be like this in the future." The two men smiled at each other, chatting and laughing freely. The fourth prince frowned slightly and said, "Second brother, this is the preparation hall for the blood spirit pool. Why did second brother suddenly have the interest to come here?" Zhao Feng glanced at him indifferently. "Fourth brother, this is the hall where my royal family gathers talents. I also wanted to see what the geniuses of our great Qi kingdom are like this year. Is there anything wrong with me coming here?" Afterward, Zhao Feng turned to look at Zhang Yi, revealing a hint of a smile, and said, "Just now, I heard young Lord Zhang's words and thought they made a lot of sense. I heard that there are also a few students from the current class of the Heavenly Star Academy going to the Blood Spirit Pool this time. This Crown Prince really wants to see what abilities the geniuses of this year's Heavenly Star Academy have that His Majesty made an exception to allow them to enter the Blood Spirit Pool." Moreover, the Crown Prince coldly stared at Qin Chen, his eyes narrowed. "Younger sister Lingshan is the daughter of King Kang and also belongs to my royal bloodline. You, sir, rode in the same carriage as younger sister Lingshan. This action is an insult to the reputation of my royal family. If your cultivation is sufficient, then so be it, but if your cultivation is too weak, wouldn't that be a disgrace to my royal family? Zhang Yi, you should spar with him and see what this kid is capable of." Yes. Zhang Yi was overjoyed to receive the Crown Prince's approval. He hadn't expected that his casual action would attract so much support. Immediately, he coldly shouted at Qin Chen, "Qin Chen, you've heard it too. His Highness the Crown Prince also wants to know your abilities. Come on, let me see what your strength is." Zhang Yi walked forward with a sinister smile. The fourth prince's expression changed, and he said, "Second brother, this isn't good, is it? Qin Chen is a participant in this blood spirit pool. If something happens, can you bear the responsibility if Father Emperor blames you? Fourth brother, you're just too cautious. I'm just letting Zhang Yi spar with this Qin Chen. What could happen?" Zhao Feng sneered, then said to Qin Chen, "Sir, are you afraid to agree? Are you just seeking fame and reputation, without any real strength, afraid of failure? Or are you simply looking down on Zhang Yi?" Hearing the Crown Prince's words, Zhang Yi's face immediately turned cold, and he said, "Qin Chen, if you have the guts, come out and fight. This young lord won't use my true energy, and I'll fight you with just my physical strength, and I'll even let you use only one hand. Surely you wouldn't dare to agree to that." Qin Chen was expressionless, his gaze gradually turning cold. He had come to participate in the blood spirit pool baptism, and he hadn't done anything. As soon as he arrived, he was scolded by a crazy woman, and then challenged by an idiot. Did they all think he was an easy target? He could see that Crown Prince Zhao Feng had an extremely good relationship with Qin Feng and clearly wanted to use this opportunity to stand up for Qin Feng. And this Zhang Yi was completely brainless, willing to be used as a pawn in order to curry favor with the Crown Prince. Qin Chen glanced at the crowd and sneered, "Since His Highness the Crown Prince has already said so, then I'll spar with you. Qin Chen, don't be impulsive. Zhang Yi was the champion of the Heavenly Star Academy's year-end exam 3 years ago. Now, his cultivation has already reached the late stage of the Earth realm. Even if he lets you use only one hand, you're no match for him at all. Don't be rash." Zhao Lingshan's anxious voice rang in Qin Chen's ear. Qin Chen smiled and said, "Don't worry, I know what I'm doing." If they wanted to use him to establish their prestige, they had to weigh their own strength first. Competing with him in strength was simply looking for the wrong person. Now, Qin Chen's strength had already reached 50 horses power. Even a Heaven Realm expert would dare to fight him, let alone Zhang Yi, an Earth Realm martial artist. Just having a competition like this is meaningless. We need to have a wager, right? How about this? Whoever loses will kneel on the ground and bark twice like a dog. Qin Chen said with a smile that was not a smile. Everyone looked at Qin Chen in bewilderment, one by one speechless. Was Qin Chen crazy? He agreed to Zhang Yi's challenge, not to mention adding a wager. Wasn't he courting death? Just because he won the year-end exam champion this year, his self-confidence was too inflated, right? Not to mention cultivation, just talking about achievements. Which of these people present didn't graduate from the Heavenly Star Academy? When they graduated, almost all of them were champions. Good. Since you want to be a dog, then I'll help you fulfill your wish. Zhang Yi was first furious, then sneered. This Qin Chen was too arrogant. Did he think he had a chance to defeat him? How ridiculous. He would let him know what despair was. I think the wager should be dropped. Everyone is just sparring, let's not hurt the harmony, Princess Sixyun suddenly said. Although she was very unhappy with Qin Chen and couldn't wait to beat him up, she still didn't want to see the Crown Prince and Qin Feng's wishes fulfilled. Sixth sister, that's not right. Qin Chen himself proposed the wager, which shows that he is very confident. Since that's the case, why should we spoil his fun? The Crown Prince smiled. Your Highness, the Crown Prince is right. Zhang Yi strode forward, the crowd retreated, and soon only Qin Chen and he were left on the field. Zhang Yi said with a fake smile, Qin Chen, you have to be careful, don't be defeated by me in one move, or you'll lose all the face of your year-end exam champion. As soon as he finished speaking, Zhang Yi's body bloomed with towering fighting intent, and a terrifying aura, like a hurricane, swept out and slammed into Qin Chen. Rumble. The fighting intent was like a monstrous wave, constantly impacting, obviously wanting to learn from Qin Feng and knock Qin Chen away with just his aura. However, Qin Chen on the opposite side remained motionless. Ha! Zhang Yi roared, his eyes wide open, his aura even stronger, like waves, like a tsunami, rolling out. He pushed his aura to the extreme, and the entire hall echoed with rumbling sounds. Not far away, Li Qingfeng, Wang Qiming, Zhao Lingshan, and others changed their expressions slightly, their blood surging, and secretly said, how strong. Many of the imperial guards in the hall also secretly changed color, secretly surprised, as expected of the genius of the great Qi kingdom, only in his early 20s, he is already a late-stage Earth realm expert. And even more, just in terms of aura, he is even more terrifying than us imperial guards. If he really fights, I'm afraid he can fight three at once. These sons of marquises cultivate techniques and martial skills that are all top-notch, too terrifying. They joined the Imperial Guards, and the techniques they cultivated were relatively advanced techniques of the Great Qi Kingdom, but no matter what, they were only advanced. Compared with the top-notch techniques cultivated by geniuses like Zhang Yi, they were still far behind. If you want to fight, then fight. What's with all the shouting? It's like watching an opera. What are you doing? Qin Chen frowned, seeing Zhang Yi shout for so long without making a move. Hearing Qin Chen's words, Zhang Yi, who had been building up his momentum for so long, almost fell to the ground. Damn it! He had painstakingly built up his momentum for so long, but it had no effect on the other party at all. How was that possible? Crown Prince Zhao Feng also frowned and said, Zhang Yi, if you're going to attack, then attack. Hurry up. Yes, Your Highness. Zhang Yi was frustrated. He gathered his strength and threw a punch. Extreme Tyrant Fist. With a roar, Zhang Yi's right fist flew over like a peak from beyond the heavens. The Extreme Tyrant Fist was Marquis Zhenan Zhang Xiaojun's unique military martial skill. With this Extreme Tyrant Fist, he rose from a captain to a highly renowned military marquis of the Darky Kingdom. Countless soldiers had died under this martial skill. The Extreme Tyrant Fist was a mid-level Xuan grade martial skill, divided into 6 levels. After cultivating the first level, one possessed the strength of 10 horses. After cultivating the second level, one possessed the strength of 30 horses. After cultivating the third level, one possessed the strength of 50 horses. And so on, until the 6th level, where one possessed the strength of 500 horses. The Extreme Tyrant Fist that Marquis Zhenan Zhang Xiaojun obtained was only a fragment, at most capable of being cultivated to the 4th level, the strength of 100 horses. But with this martial skill, Zhang Xiaojun had established great military achievements and become a prominent figure. Although Zhang Yi's cultivation was at the late earth grade, he had already cultivated this extreme tyrant fist to near the 3rd level, possessing the strength of 40 horses. This was the source of his confidence. He prided himself on being nearly invincible among earth grade martial artists in terms of strength alone. Boom! The massive iron fist tore through the air, creating a sharp whistling sound, and instantly approached Qin Chen. Zhang Yi could already imagine Qin Chen's fate under this punch. His tendons would definitely be broken and his bones shattered, and he would fall to the ground in pain. A hint of a sinister smile bloomed on his lips. In the void, 2 fists collided rapidly. Bang! The scene that Zhang Yi had imagined did not happen. Qin Chen stood rooted to the ground, unmoving. What? He actually blocked it. Zhang Yi was shocked, his expression stunned. Is this the source of your confidence? Qin Chen flicked his sleeves. I thought it would be so powerful. So weak. Didn't you eat breakfast this morning? That punch just now had at most the strength of 20 horses. HMPH. Don't be arrogant. I was afraid of killing you with that punch, so I didn't use my full strength at all, Zhang Yi said angrily, his face flushed. This was not a lie. Afraid that he would kill Qin Chen with one punch and be punished by His Majesty, Zhang Yi had indeed only used half of his strength in that punch just now. Since you want to die, I'll grant your wish. The qi and blood in his body surged, Zhang Yi grinned, and his whole body emitted the cracking sound of bones twisting. He gathered his strength and punched again. Boom! With one punch, the void exploded, as if a bomb had exploded in the void. This punch, Zhang Yi used 70% of his strength. Bang! The fierce fist wind collided with Qin Chen in the void, and Qin Chen remained motionless again, without even moving an inch. How is that possible? Zhang Yi widened his eyes. He used 70% of his strength in this attack. Ordinary late-stage Earth-grade martial artists couldn't withstand it, but Qin Chen actually blocked it. I don't believe it. Again. Gritting his teeth, Zhang Yi attacked again. Boom boom boom. His right fist struck continuously, attacking Qin Chen like a storm, and a violent force swept through the void, as if a gale of magnitude 7 had been stirred up. This time, he used his full strength, without any reservations. What a terrifying fist wind. Too powerful, as expected of the direct son of Marquis Zhenan. With this kind of power, even if we went up, we would probably be blown apart by one punch. Many Imperial guards changed their expressions and secretly discussed in horror. Even the deputy commanders of the Imperial guards, such as Gang Lai and Wu Tao, had solemn expressions. When they were Zhang Yi's age and cultivation level, they were far from being so terrifying. The power contained in this fist was enough to contend with a heaven-grade expert. No wonder such a genius would represent the Darky Kingdom and fight against the geniuses of the 5 nations. Qin Chen, be careful. Not far away, Zhao Lingshan clenched her fists, extremely worried, her heart uneasy. Lingshan, you don't really have something going on with that Qin Chen, do you? Princess Zixun frowned, seeing Zhao Lingshan's expression. Sister Zixun, I told you, things are really not what you think. Qin Chen is someone my father and master specifically warned me about, and I must build a good relationship with him. Zhao Lingshan stomped her feet, her face flushed, and when she saw Qin Chen in danger on the field, she became worried again. Princess Zixun sighed. Zhao Lingshan's current appearance didn't seem like it was because of her father and master's warnings. It was clearly because she was worried in her heart. Perhaps even she herself hadn't anticipated this. Not far away, Qin Feng narrowed his eyes, a sneer on his lips, and watched carefully. Boom! After several punches, Qin Chen finally couldn't resist and was blasted away. This Marquis thought you were so strong, but that's all there is to it. Zhang Yi let out a sinister laugh, his confidence greatly increased, and attacked Qin Chen frantically, throwing dozens of punches in a row. Every time Qin Chen took a punch from him, he would retreat continuously, his feet stepping out footprints on the ground. I didn't expect my good brother to be so durable. He actually has such strength. A faint smile appeared on the corner of Qin Feng's mouth. Qin Chen was actually able to take so many punches from Zhang Yi. If a mid-stage Earth-grade martial artist came over, they might not have such a record. But that's all there is to it. To kill him, only 3 moves are needed, or even none at all. Qin Feng shook his head, claiming to have a thorough understanding of Qin Chen's strength. Qin Chen was actually able to take so many punches from Zhang Yi, but he's almost defeated. The Crown Prince smiled. Before he finished speaking, a sudden change occurred on the field. Is that all the strength you have? It's my turn to attack. Qin Chen suddenly turned around, his figure swayed, dodging Zhang Yi's punch, and instantly appeared on his left side. What? Zhang Yi was shocked, and it was too late to react. He saw Qin Chen's iron fist instantly hit his chest. Bang! A muffled roar sounded, and Zhang Yi flew out heavily, spitting out a mouthful of blood, and fell to the ground. What? Everyone was shocked and dumbfounded. What exactly happened? Clearly, Zhang Yi had been dominating the field just now, beating Qin Chen back continuously, only able to parry. Why? In the blink of an eye, had Zhang Yi already been defeated? They didn't even have time to react. With this little strength, you dare to act tough? Qin Chen sneered, patted his palms, and then inadvertently glanced at Qin Feng. If he didn't want to deliberately hide his strength, he could have defeated Zhang Yi with 1 punch. Why bother with so much trouble? But now that he had acted to this point, he had achieved almost the desired effect. Presumably, that Qin Feng thought that his strength was only so-so. At this time, on the field, the sound of discussion rose and fell. Zhang Yi actually lost to Qin Chen, it's unbelievable. Qin Chen is the champion of this year's Heavenly Star Academy's year-end exam, but Zhang Yi was also the champion of the Heavenly Star Academy's year-end exam a few years ago, and he is several years older than Qin Chen. How could he lose? Don't forget, Zhang Yi didn't use his true energy just now, and only used his right hand. Qin Chen seized the opportunity and attacked suddenly, making him unable to react for a while, so he was defeated. That's right. Otherwise, with Zhang Yi's late-stage Earth Realm strength, he would have defeated Qin Chen long ago. It's a pity, Zhang Yi is too arrogant. He insisted on restraining his true energy and letting Qin Chen use 1 hand. He didn't expect to humiliate himself and lose face. The other Imperial guards also suddenly understood, feeling that Zhang Yi was very ridiculous, thinking that he could easily defeat Qin Chen, but who knew that he would stumble in a gutter and lose face in front of everyone. It's not that Zhang Yi is too arrogant. The strongest thing about Marquis Zhengyan, Zhang Xiaojun, is his physical strength. Zhang Yi inherited his mantle and his strength has surpassed ordinary late-stage Earth Realm peak experts. Neither you nor I can necessarily take a hit from him. It can be seen that this Qin Chen is a legendary martial arts genius. Yes, I heard that this Qin Chen was just a cripple before, but suddenly rose up and won the championship of this year's Heavenly Star Academy's year-end exam, invincible. He is only 15 years old now. In a few years, when he is as old as Zhang Yi, how powerful will he be? In a few years, he may be able to compete with Qin Feng. Shush. Keep quiet. How can you say that? Are you looking for death? Hearing the crowd's discussion, Zhang Yi became even more angry and embarrassed. Originally, he wanted to perform well in front of the Crown Prince and Qin Feng to find a sense of accomplishment, but unexpectedly, he was defeated by Qin Chen instead. He lost so much face that there was no skin left. I was careless just now. Qin Chen, have the guts to release your strength and fight me again. Zhang Yi roared angrily, wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, and stepped forward furiously. If he doesn't save face, how will he hang out in the royal capital in the future, and how will he raise his head in front of the Crown Prince? Release your strength and fight again. Qin Chen sneered, with a look of mockery. Do you really think I'm an idiot? How old are you? How old am I? What is your cultivation level? What is my cultivation level? Are you an idiot yourself? Don't treat others as idiots. You. What about me? Challenging me. Do you feel a sense of superiority? If you have the ability, challenge the Crown Prince, challenge the 4th Prince, challenge Qin Feng, challenge Princess Xixun, but you have to come and challenge me. I don't know where you get the courage and face. No wonder among the so-called geniuses of the royal capital, I have never even heard of your name. A waste like you can only find some people who are 5 or 6 years younger than you to jump around. PFFT. Zhang Yi was so angry that he spat out a mouthful of blood, his lungs were about to explode. The crowd whispered again. Indeed, with Zhang Yi's age and cultivation level, challenging Qin Chen would be said to be bullying the young even if he won. For a time, Zhang Yi couldn't challenge or not, and couldn't wait to find a crack in the ground to crawl into. Zhang Yi, step down. Crown Prince Zhao Feng's face darkened, and he said unhappily. Yes. Seeing the Crown Prince speak, Zhang Yi had no choice but to retreat in despair. Hold on. Qin Chen frowned and said coldly. Qin Chen, what else do you want to do? Zhang Yi was furious. He had already stepped down, but what else did Qin Chen want to do relentlessly? The bet just now, does your highness want to go back on your word? Qin Chen sneered. Bet. Everyone was stunned, looking at Zhang Yi with strange expressions. Indeed, the two had made a bet before the battle. The loser had to kneel on the ground and bark like a dog. Zhang Yi thought he would win before, and didn't think about it at all. He directly agreed arrogantly. Now that it was mentioned, his face flushed red and he was furious. Letting him kneel on the ground and bark like a dog is even more uncomfortable than killing him. Qin Chen, don't push your luck. I was careless before, that's why I fell for your trick. Do you really think I don't dare to attack you? Boom. The energy in his body exploded, and Zhang Yi's late-stage Earth Realm true energy was released to the extreme, like heavy mountains, rushing forward fiercely and pressing heavily on Qin Chen. Your Highness, Zhang Yi doesn't keep his word. I cannot care about it, but the challenge just now was under your leadership as a witness. Your Highness is the Crown Prince of my great Qi Kingdom, with a noble status, and is the heir apparent of my great Qi Kingdom. You shouldn't break your word like this, Zhang Yi, right? Qin Chen looked at Zhao Feng with a smile that was not a smile. Everyone's eyes fell on the Crown Prince, including the fourth prince, Princess Xixun and others. Zhang Yi, kneel down. Your Highness. Zhang Yi's face changed. Do you want me to break my promise? The Crown Prince's voice was cold, but his eyes fell on Qin Chen, with a strong chill blooming, like a sharp blade. Under the Crown Prince's gaze, Qin Chen's face remained unchanged, and a faint smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Under everyone's gaze, Zhang Yi's expression changed, and his heart struggled fiercely. Zhang Yi, the Crown Prince shouted coldly again, his voice containing anger. This Zhang Yi is too outrageous. If he doesn't fulfill his promise, does he want him, the Crown Prince of the Great Qi Kingdom, to break his promise in front of everyone? Plop. In the end, Zhang Yi was helpless, kneeling on the ground, his head lowered, gritting his teeth and barking like a dog. Ha ha ha, it really looks like it. As expected, you are a dog under the Crown Prince. The Crown Prince tells you to do something, and you do it. Qin Chen laughed loudly. Zhang Yi's appearance also made the other imperial guards around him unable to help but want to laugh, but they all held back desperately. In the crowd, Deputy Commander Wu Tao looked at this scene in horror, cold sweat dripping from his forehead, and his back was instantly wet. Who is Zhang Yi? One of the most prestigious marquises in the Great Qi Kingdom's court, Zhang Xiaojun, Marquis Zhongyan's son. In the court, even ordinary officials and marquises would not dare to be disrespectful to him. But Qin Chen forced him to kneel in this hall and bark like a dog, completely disregarding Marquis Zhongyan's face. Thinking that he had almost offended Qin Chen before, Wu Tao couldn't help but panic and his legs went weak. At this moment, everyone was shocked, and no one could remain calm. Qin Chen, if I, Zhang Yi, don't avenge this, I swear I won't give up. Kneeling on the ground, Zhang Yi's face was so gloomy that it was almost dripping with blood, and he roared in his heart, his eyes ferocious and full of resentment. Crown Prince Zhao Feng's face was also extremely ugly. He originally wanted to use Zhang Yi to teach Qin Chen a lesson, so as to vent a breath for Qin Feng and win over people's hearts. Unexpectedly, Zhang Yi was so useless that he was defeated by Qin Chen, which instead made him lose face and lose people's hearts. For a time, the hall was extremely quiet, and everyone was overwhelmed by this solemn atmosphere. My good brother, are you finally willing to come out? Qin Feng smiled slightly, walked out of the crowd, looked at Qin Chen calmly, with a trace of light flickering, and a smile on the corner of his mouth. Everyone was greatly shaken, staring intently. Qin Feng, the direct grandson of King Dingwu, Qin Beishan, had become a legend in the Great Qi Kingdom from the day he was born. He was a third-grade bloodline awakener, breaking through the Earth realm at the age of 14, setting a record among the younger generation in the Great Qi Kingdom for the past century. In his 14th year, during the year-end examination at Tianxing Academy, he defeated the fourth prince and won the championship, gaining widespread fame. After graduating from Tianxing Academy, he joined the military, starting as a common soldier and rising to become the first commandant in the Great Qi Kingdom's army, with remarkable achievements. Although he had been away from the capital for the past few years, legends of his past still circulated. He was hailed as the #1 genius of the younger generation in the Great Qi Kingdom. Now, he has returned. He was received by Zhao Gao, the emperor of the Great Qi Kingdom, who promised that if he obtained first place in the Five Nations tournament, he would be granted the title of champion marquis. What glory, what prestige! However, the first thing he did upon his return was to challenge Qin Chen on the life and death stage. The contest between the two geniuses of the Qin family had already caused a stir in the capital. Only because Qin Chen avoided the battle did that conflict come to an end. Now, will the contest between the two great geniuses of the Qin family begin again? At this moment, everyone was unable to remain calm. One is the #1 genius of the younger generation in the Great Qi Kingdom, with a far-reaching reputation, and will soon be granted the title of marquis, an unparalleled figure. The other is a recent legend in the capital, who has risen from a good-for-nothing to become the most dazzling new star in the Great Qi Kingdom. Coincidentally, these two are both members of the Qin family. It cannot help but attract attention and become the focus of everyone's eyes. Since Qin Chen avoided the battle before, now that the two sides have met, there is no way to avoid it. How will Qin Chen respond? Lingshan, were you scared just now? There's a seat over there, I'll take you there. Qin Chen smiled, leading Zhao Lingshan forward slowly. Ignoring Qin Feng's greeting, as if he didn't exist, a blatant disregard. Everyone was dumbfounded, their jaws dropping in astonishment. Arrogant, too arrogant. Facing Qin Feng's greeting, Qin Chen actually ignored him directly. How much courage does that take? You must know that even His Highness the Fourth Prince does not dare to underestimate Qin Feng, and His Highness the Crown Prince must greet him with a smile. Qin Chen, you. Qin Feng's expression darkened. Even with his good self-cultivation, he couldn't help but feel anger rising within him. But his composure was extremely high, and he forcibly endured it. Ignoring me, Qin Feng sneered, a good-for-nothing is a good-for-nothing. You're so used to being a coward that you don't even have the courage to face me, your older brother. Your Highness the Crown Prince, shouldn't this be the Imperial Palace? Why do I keep hearing a mad dog barking? It's really annoying, Qin Chen frowned. PFFT. Everyone was spitting blood, on the verge of madness, with turbulent waves rising in their hearts. To actually call Qin Feng a mad dog, this Qin Chen is too arrogant. Does he really want to die? Qin Feng could no longer endure it. He was furious, his true energy erupting. Boom. The entire hall was swept by true energy, and a monstrous aura was gathering. Do you want to die? Thunderous anger, booming loudly, Qin Feng's face was gloomy, like a war god, striding forward, glaring at Qin Chen. At this moment, everyone's expression changed, and the entire hall was trembling. Terrifying true energy gathered on Qin Feng's body, like a constantly shaking volcano, ready to erupt at any moment. Qin Feng, stop. The fourth prince Zhao Wei hurriedly stood in front of Qin Feng. Your Highness the Fourth Prince, please step aside, Qin Feng said with a dark expression. Qin Feng, watch your attitude, Princess Sixyun said angrily. Fourth brother, sixth sister, this is a family matter of the Qin family. Our royal family should not interfere, the Crown Prince stepped forward, smiling. For a time, the two sides confronted each other, and the entire hall was filled with the smell of gunpowder, the atmosphere heavy and suffocating. The many imperial guards, one by one, were as silent as cicadas in winter, afraid to speak, even lowering their breathing, for fear of disturbing the people in the hall. The emperor has arrived. A high-pitched voice suddenly rang out outside the hall, instantly breaking the stagnant atmosphere. A man wearing a golden dragon robe, with a plump figure and sparkling eyes, walked in from outside the hall. It was Zhao Gao, the current emperor of the Great Qi Kingdom. Beside him stood two men with extraordinary auras, one of whom was burly, Lingwu King Xiozan. The other, wearing a grey-brown robe and with a stubbly beard, stood beside Lingwu King, his aura not weak at all, obviously a strong man as well. These few should be the geniuses of our Great Qi Kingdom this year, indeed young heroes, all handsome and extraordinary, Zhao Gao said with a smile as soon as he entered. This subject greets Father Emperor. Greetings, Your Majesty. The Crown Prince Zhao Feng, the fourth Prince Zhao Wei, the sixth Princess Xixun, and Qin Feng and others all hurriedly saluted, their expressions respectful, bowing deeply. Qin Chen also reluctantly bowed. For his mother's sake, he didn't want to cause trouble. Esteemed officials, there is no need to be so polite. You are all young talents of my Great Qi Kingdom. This time, the Five Nations tournament will rely heavily on you, Zhao Gao said with a smile. With his discerning eyes, how could he not see the strange atmosphere in the hall, but he didn't care. In a few words, he broke the atmosphere. Qin Feng and the others were naturally grateful, especially Li Qingfeng, whose face flushed with excitement, and he didn't even know how to breathe. Feng, why are you here too? After a few casual greetings, Zhao Gao looked at the Crown Prince Zhao Feng. Zhao Feng hurriedly bowed, nervously saying, Father Emperor, this subject heard that these are all top geniuses of my Great Qi Kingdom, so I came to take a look, representing my Great Qi Kingdom, to offer my condolences. Feng, you are thoughtful, Zhao Gao said with a smile. But Zhao Feng couldn't help but tremble in his heart, secretly thinking that he seemed to be too deeply involved. He knew very well that if Father Emperor wanted to know what happened in this hall, he could find out in minutes. Let me introduce you. Everyone knows Lingwu King. He is one of the leaders of this blood spirit pool trip. In addition, Grandmaster Yuan Feng is also one of the leaders of this blood spirit pool trip. He will lead you to the Monster Ancestor mountain range, Zhao Gao said. Grandmaster Yuan Feng. Everyone was puzzled. Why hadn't they heard of this person before? To be able to sit on an equal footing with Lingwu King Xiozan, he is definitely no ordinary Grandmaster. Everyone, please follow me, Yuan Feng said with an arrogant expression, leading everyone outside the hall. Everyone, prepare to set off. As soon as he finished speaking, Grandmaster Yuan Feng suddenly let out a long roar. The roar was extremely loud, soaring into the sky, rolling like thunder, but when it fell into the ears of Qin Chen and the others nearby, there was no impact at all. Obviously, Grandmaster Yuan Feng was extremely skilled in controlling the roar, able to avoid harming ordinary people around him. Li Qingfeng and the others were puzzled, not understanding what Grandmaster Yuan Feng's strange behavior was doing. Chirp. At this moment, as if responding to Grandmaster Yuan Feng's roar, a sharp cry suddenly came from above everyone's heads. The cry was sharp and high-pitched, causing Li Qingfeng and the others' eardrums to vibrate, and they felt unbearable. Everyone looked up, their eyes filled with horror. Above, in the sky thousands of meters high, a massive flying blood beast swooped down rapidly. This flying beast had a terrifying aura. In the blink of an eye, it descended to 100 meters above, its form changing from a small black dot to a dark cloud, blotting out the sky. A terrifying demonic presence, accompanied by a hurricane, swept through the entire hall. Not good. How could such a ferocious blood beast suddenly appear in the royal capital? Be careful. Protect His Majesty. The crowd stirred, and the imperial guards were thrown into chaos. A group of people surged forward, protecting Zhao Gao, drawing their sharp blades, as if facing a great enemy. This flying blood beast had a soaring demonic aura, and it was clear at a glance that it was a ferocious and cruel creature. If it were to pounce from the sky, ordinary people would definitely not be able to stop it. Everyone, there's no need to worry. This blood beast is a flying creature tamed by Master Yuan Feng. Standing in the crowd, Zhao Gao smiled calmly. A blood beast tamed by Master Yuan Feng. Could it be that Master Yuan Feng is a beast tamer? Such a terrifying blood beast must be at least a tier 3 blood beast. Master Yuan Feng must be at least a tier 3 heaven rank beast tamer. No wonder he can stand with the spirit martial king. Hiss. The crowd was shocked and horrified, and they gasped one after another. Beast tamers are an extremely noble profession throughout the heavenly martial continent. What martial artists fear most in the wild are ferocious blood beasts. However, in order to enhance their bloodline power, martial artists have to fight and kill blood beasts every day. It can be said that throughout the heavenly martial continent, countless martial artists die under the claws of blood beasts every day. However, there is a class of people in the heavenly martial continent who, through unique training, can communicate with ferocious blood beasts and even tame them. These people are called beast tamers. It's just that, because the number of beast tamers is too small, most people may never even see a beast tamer in their lifetime. To think that there would be such a beast tamer hidden in the great Qi kingdom, and with no weak strength. Under the gaze of the crowd, Master Yuan Feng gave a shout, and the flying blood beast instantly landed on the open space outside the hall, raising its proud head and releasing an overwhelming demonic presence. This flying beast was incomparably huge, with wings spanning tens of meters. Its entire body was covered in bluish-black iron feathers, which gleamed like metal under the sunlight. Its pair of claws were blood red. When they landed on the ground, they instantly pierced through the hard cyan rock, as if stabbing into soft tofu, without any effort at all. Could this be the legendary Tier 3 blood beast, the Bloodclaw Azure Hawk? The Bloodclaw Azure Hawk is a Tier 3 blood beast. I heard that when it goes berserk, it can tear apart heaven rank martial artists. My heavens, if I had such a flying blood beast, I would be so awesome. I could go anywhere in the world. The crowd erupted, buzzing with excitement. Qin Chen was also slightly surprised. He didn't expect the great Qi kingdom to have a beast tamer. Among all professions, beast taming is indeed a relatively dangerous and extremely rare one. Everyone, this Bloodclaw Azure Hawk is the blood beast tamed by this old man, and it is also the means of transportation for everyone's trip to the blood spirit pool. Seeing the shocked gazes of the crowd, Yuan Feng couldn't help but smile proudly. The identity of a beast tamer is incomparably noble, making him an honored guest wherever he goes. It's getting late. Everyone should set off early, Zhao Gao said with a smile. I will wait here for your good news. You all climb onto the Bloodclaw Azure Hawk. Master Yuan Feng leaped and sat on the neck of the Bloodclaw Azure Hawk, saying coldly to Qin Chen and the others. Qin Feng glanced coldly at Qin Chen. It seemed that there was no chance to deal with Qin Chen here. He could only wait until after they arrived at the Monster Ancestor mountain range. With a leap, Qin Feng landed on the Bloodclaw Azure Hawk. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Immediately afterwards, the fourth Prince Zhao Wei and the others also flew up. The Bloodclaw Azure Hawk was tens of meters long and about 10 meters wide. Its back was incomparably flat and wide. Qin Chen and the others stood on it, and it didn't feel crowded at all. Everyone, sit tight, stabilize your bodies with true energy, and don't fall off the Bloodclaw Azure Hawk. Otherwise, no one will be able to save you. Yuan Feng warned. The Bloodclaw Azure Hawk's flight altitude was as high as thousands of meters. Falling from such a high altitude would instantly turn even Tier 3 heaven rank martial artists into minced meat, let alone Qin Chen and the other students. Hearing this, Zhang Yi, who was sitting cross-legged on the back of the Bloodclaw Azure Hawk, had a flash in his eyes, and looked at Qin Chen not far away with a sinister look, as if some wicked idea was brewing in his mind. Qin Chen sensed something and turned his head to look. Zhang Yi had already lowered his head at this time, looking as if nothing had happened. Qin Chen sneered slightly. It seemed that Zhang Yi was still unrepentant. Qin Chen, let me sit next to you. I just happened to want to ask you about some cultivation issues. Suddenly, a clear voice came, and Zhao Lingshan sat down gently beside Qin Chen. All right. Qin Chen smiled wryly, wanting to refuse but unable to say it. Who told him to ride in someone else's carriage just now? He couldn't just refuse ruthlessly now, that would be too inappropriate. I'm warning you, don't get any ideas about my Lingshan sister, or don't blame me for being rude to you. Just as he was thinking, a woman's fragrance suddenly wafted over, and Princess Sixyun plopped down on Qin Chen's right, saying triumphantly, I'm sitting here, I have to supervise you properly. Saying that, her eyes scanned Qin Chen up and down, looking as if she didn't believe him. Qin Chen was speechless. All right. Everyone is seated. Let's go. With a loud shout, the blood-claw azure hawk suddenly shook its wings, and a huge force pressed down. Everyone only felt a sinking sensation on their bodies, and the buildings on both sides quickly disappeared. When they looked around, everyone had already reached 100 meters in the sky. Everyone, sit tight and grab the blood-claw azure hawk's body. The blood-claw azure hawk flapped its wings continuously, and a huge force instantly formed a violent storm around it. The oncoming airflow was like a knife, rubbing against Qin Chen's and the others' faces. The strong wind blew, and everyone's breathing became difficult, almost suffocating. Looking down, the originally magnificent royal capital of the Great Qi Kingdom gradually became smaller, and finally disappeared from everyone's sight. Passing through the clouds, the blood-claw azure hawk constantly increased its altitude as it flew, and the surrounding air began to thin out. At this moment, the difference in everyone's cultivation was immediately revealed. Qin Feng and the fourth prince looked very calm, as if the sweeping wind had no great impact on them at all, while Princess Zixun and Zhang Yi were slightly inferior, but their expressions were still calm. As for Zhao Lingshan, Wang Qiming, and Li Qingfeng, they were extremely nervous, especially Li Qingfeng, who grabbed the back of the blood-claw azure hawk tightly with both hands, his face pale with fright, and he dared not look down. Xiao Zhan, it seems that among the geniuses of the Great Qi Kingdom this year, there are two with good cultivation, Yuan Feng said with a smile to Xiao Zhan, glancing back from the head of the blood-claw azure hawk. Xiao Zhan stood at the front of the blood-claw azure hawk, the hurricane blowing against him, his feet as if rooted, unmoving. It's okay, but I've heard that geniuses have emerged in the other 4 countries in recent years. I wonder how our Great Qi Kingdom will perform in this 5 nations tournament. Xiao Zhan shook his head, not particularly optimistic. Indeed, this time I traveled through the 5 countries and saw many geniuses in the other 4 countries. Now, talented people are emerging everywhere, and no one dares to say they can dominate. Yuan Feng sighed. After this trip, I plan to leave the Northwest 5 nations and see more distant places. Grandmaster Yuan Feng, can't you stay in my Great Qi Kingdom? Xiao Zhan was taken aback and said quickly. Yuan Feng shook his head and lamented, Xiao Zhan, it's not that you don't know, the Northwest 5 nations are too remote, resources are scarce, and true energy is thin. With your cultivation, if you were in the outside world, you might have broken through to the 5th level sect realm long ago. But look, how many years have you been stuck at the profound level, unable to advance an inch? This time, if it weren't for His Majesty Zhao Gao sending you and other experts to help me tame this blood-claw azure hawk, I wouldn't have agreed to Zhao Gao's request to escort your Great Qi Kingdom's geniuses to the Demon Ancestor Mountain Range. However, after this trip, I must leave. If you are willing, you can leave with me. With the blood-claw azure hawk, you don't have to worry about the journey being too dangerous. With your talent, when you enter a more vast world, perhaps you will have an extraordinary life. Xiao Zhan was silent, then shook his head. His Majesty has been kind to me, how can I leave? Let's not mention this matter again. You. Yuan Feng shook his head helplessly, but didn't try to persuade him further. Everyone has their own ambitions, and he couldn't say anything more. The hope for this 5 nations tournament rests on Qin Feng and the 4th prince, Xiao Zhan said softly. Is that the guy sitting steadily on the back of the blood-claw azure hawk? Indeed, his aura is extraordinary, and his cultivation is also good. To be able to breathe freely and remain motionless on the back of the blood-claw azure hawk shows that his control over true energy has reached an astonishing level. What's rare is that his cultivation is only at the late-stage peak of the Earth level. Even early-stage heaven-level experts may not be able to do this, Yuan Feng couldn't help but praise, focusing on Qin Feng. It must be said that Qin Feng's performance was too outstanding. Anyone riding a flying blood beast for the first time would inevitably feel nervous and unnatural. Most people would even be fearful and afraid. But from Qin Feng, they couldn't see any of these emotions, only calmness and tranquility. That condescending gaze made it clear at a glance that he was an extraordinary person. As for the others, they were more or less nervous. Even the 4th prince, who looked quite calm, was the same. Xiao Zhan, Keep an eye on them. The Blood Claw Azure Hawk's speed is very fast. If you're not careful, even heaven-level experts can fall off. You must not let these young people fall. If they really fall, I may not be able to save them in time, Yuan Feng solemnly warned. As he spoke, he glanced behind him, and at that glance, he seemed to see something unbelievable, a look of astonishment on his face. Xiao Zhan, who is this young man? How? Yuan Feng's eyes widened, he said urgently. Who? Spirit Marshal King Xiao Zhan also looked over suspiciously, and his eyes widened as well. They saw a young man on the back of the Blood Claw Azure Hawk yawning, looking drowsy, and directly lying down on the Blood Claw Azure Hawk, crossing his legs. Damn it! The two were instantly struck dumb, their eyes almost popping out. This was 1,000 meters in the air, on the back of the Blood Claw Azure Hawk. Even Xiao Zhan himself had to use his true energy to firmly nail himself to the back of the Blood Claw Azure Hawk. Yet he was sleeping on the back of the Blood Claw Azure Hawk, wasn't he afraid of falling to his death? The two felt their brains spinning, with an urge to faint. Xiao Zhan, who exactly is he? Yuan Feng frowned and said unhappily. Treating his Blood Claw Azure Hawk as a bed was too much. This genius is named Qin Chen, the grandson of Dingwu King Qin Beishan. Xiao Zhan said with a twitching face, strangely. Is it him? Yuan Feng had also stayed in the Great Qi Kingdom's capital for some time and had naturally heard of Qin Chen's name. This guy is too arrogant, isn't he? Yuan Feng's attitude towards Qin Chen immediately turned sour. It was the first time he had seen someone treat his Blood Claw Azure Hawk as a bed. Moreover, he had just told Xiao Zhan that even heaven-level experts might not be able to sit firmly on the back of the Blood Claw Azure Hawk, and in the blink of an eye, Qin Chen lay down and crossed his legs. The slap in the face was loud and clear, it really hurt too much. How exactly did he do it? After the anger, another thought emerged in Yuan Feng's mind. Focusing their attention, the two looked for a long time and finally discovered some clues, their mouths widening and their hearts trembling. They saw a faint layer of true energy covering Qin Chen's body. This layer of true energy was very thin, forming a strange arc. When the hurricane blew across Qin Chen's body, this layer of true energy would deform accordingly, forming a huge force, pressing Qin Chen onto the back of the Blood Claw Azure Hawk. In other words, Qin Chen didn't need to expend any effort at all, he only needed to form a thin barrier of true energy, and the violent wind would not only not blow him away, but would instead firmly suppress him on top. The stronger the wind, the stronger the force. There's actually such a method. Yuan Feng and Xiao Zhan exchanged a look, feeling unbelievable, their faces blank. It wasn't just them. Qin Feng and the others were also dumbfounded, each of them almost going crazy. Although he had appeared very calm before, he had actually used all his strength to sit steadily on the back of the Blood Claw Azure Hawk. Who knew that Qin Chen was even more awesome, directly sleeping on the back of the Blood Claw Azure Hawk? The difference in skill was immediately apparent. While everyone was shocked, a flash of ferocity suddenly appeared in Zhang Yi's eyes, and his heart was overjoyed. This Qin Chen was actually showing off so much, he was worried about not finding an opportunity to kill him, but he didn't expect him to offer the opportunity himself. A sneer flashed from the bottom of his eyes, and Zhang Yi secretly urged his true energy, fiercely stabbing it into the back of the Blood Claw Azure Hawk. Yo! The Blood Claw Azure Hawk felt pain and immediately let out an angry cry. It had kindly carried these people on their way, but these guys dared to hurt it. In its anger, the Blood Claw Azure Hawk's body shook violently. Bang! A huge force came, and Zhao Wei and the others felt that they couldn't hold on to their figures and were about to fly up. Everyone, grab the back of the Blood Claw Azure Hawk tightly, don't let go. Yuan Feng's expression changed drastically, and he hurriedly shouted angrily, while also quickly appeasing the inexplicably angry Blood Claw Azure Hawk. Did everyone grab on? Xiao Zhan also hurriedly shouted. Grabbed on. Zhao Lingshan and the others were all skilled. Although it happened suddenly, they still managed to grab the back of the Blood Claw Azure Hawk in time. Even if they were thrown up, they were not thrown out. Xiao Zhan immediately breathed a sigh of relief, but before he could finish exhaling, his expression changed drastically. Not good. Qin Chen is in danger. He then remembered that Qin Chen was lying on the back of the blood-claw azure hawk, and with this throw, he was almost certain to die. In horror, his eyes revealed anxiety, and he hurriedly looked up. At this sight, Xiao Zhan's mouth widened, his shock beyond description, his eyeballs nearly popping out, and he stood there completely dumbfounded. Everyone else, shaken by the blood-clawed azure eagle, looked pale, clutching desperately at its feathers, afraid to let go. But Qin Chen remained perfectly calm. The instant the blood-clawed azure eagle shuddered, he smoothly flipped over, changing from lying down to reclining. With this flip, the true energy shield around his body changed shape accordingly, still firmly attached to the blood-clawed azure eagle's back, completely unaffected. How on earth did he do that? Xiao Zhan felt his mind go blank, almost driving him mad. Although Qin Chen's method seemed simple, and he understood it, replicating it was nearly impossible. Because when the blood-clawed azure eagle shuddered, the surrounding wind force constantly changed, coupled with changes in direction, the vibrations of its flapping wings, and so on, the true energy shield around Qin Chen's body had to change accordingly to remain fixed on the blood-clawed azure eagle's back. This entire process was extremely complicated. The slightest mistake would send him flying off. Even Xiao Zhan himself dared not try it. Yet Qin Chen had done it so easily. Xiao Zhan felt his mind go blank, as if his brain wasn't working properly. This boy must have some special method to keep himself so firmly fixed on the blood-clawed azure eagle's back. Xiao Zhan was astonished, while Zhang Yi was shocked. He had deliberately angered the blood-clawed azure eagle to make it throw Qin Chen off, but who knew Qin Chen would be completely unaffected? Impossible. Even a heaven-rank expert would undoubtedly fall if caught off guard by such a tremor. How could Qin Chen, who was clearly lying on the blood-clawed azure eagle's back, be completely unscathed? Zhang Yi couldn't understand it, his heart filled with anger and disappointment. To fail to kill that guy even with this, it's truly ghost. Just now, who was it that injured Xiao King? At this moment, Grandmaster Yuan Feng suddenly turned around, roaring fiercely. Just now, after communicating with the blood-clawed azure eagle, he had discovered the reason for its fury. Someone had actually injured it on its back. This made Yuan Feng extremely angry. This blood-clawed azure eagle was something he had painstakingly tamed at great cost, with the help of many experts from the Great Qi Kingdom, spending a very long time. He treasured it immensely, raising it like his own son, unwilling to let it suffer even the slightest grievance. But now, someone dared to injure his blood-clawed azure eagle. How could he not be furious? What if the blood-clawed azure eagle, in its anger, broke free from his control? How would he leave the Northwest Five Nations and enter a wider world without the blood-clawed azure eagle? A chilling atmosphere spread, and everyone fell silent under Yuan Feng's gaze, not daring to speak. At the same time, they secretly wondered, who on earth dared to do such a thing? Not only would it kill someone, but it would also be courting death. You won't speak, will you? If you admit it now, that's fine. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite when I find out later. Yuan Feng was furious that someone had done something and still wouldn't admit it. Xiao Zhan also frowned and said, whoever did it, just admit it. I know it must have been unintentional. We won't do anything to you. Zhang Yi's heart pounded twice as fast, but his expression remained very calm. He thought to himself, I acted very secretly just now, no one should have noticed it was me. For a moment, no one spoke on the eagle's back. Yuan Feng snorted coldly. Just then, Qin Chen suddenly sat up, yawned, and said, I know who did it. Who is it? Instantly, everyone's eyes fell on him. Qin Chen looked at Zhang Yi and said indifferently, it's him. Qin Chen, you're talking nonsense. Zhang Yi's heart leaped, and he suddenly stood up, his expression furious. What nonsense are you spouting? He lost his balance and was almost blown away, quickly crouching down again, clutching desperately at the blood-clawed azure eagle's feathers. Are you sure? Yuan Feng asked grimly. Of course. I clearly saw just now that Zhang Yi punched the blood-clawed azure eagle's back, probably wanting to test its defense. Qin Chen looked at Zhang Yi with great disgust. To be honest, I'm also very curious about the blood-clawed azure eagle's defense, but you didn't have to use so much force, did you? It's as if you wanted to kill the blood-clawed azure eagle with one punch. What good would that do you? PFFT. Zhang Yi was so angry that he almost spat out a mouthful of blood, anxiously saying, Grandmaster Yuan Feng, Lord Xiao Zhan, don't listen to Qin Chen's nonsense. I didn't do anything just now. Then, he looked at Qin Chen angrily and roared, Qin Chen, when the blood-clawed azure eagle was attacked just now, you were clearly lying there, your head slightly tilted to the side, and your eyes were closed. How could you have seen my actions? You're just talking nonsense. Qin Chen exclaimed in surprise, curiously saying, how do you know my actions so clearly? When the blood-clawed azure eagle shuddered, everyone was panicked, desperately grabbing onto the blood-clawed azure eagle's body. You actually had the leisure to observe me, and you weren't affected by the blood-clawed azure eagle's shaking at all. TSK, as expected of a genius, able to predict the blood-clawed azure eagle's actions in advance. Amazing, amazing. Qin Chen clicked his tongue, looking admiring. Everyone glared at Zhang Yi angrily. Indeed, when the blood-clawed azure eagle suddenly shook, they were all so panicked that they couldn't help but grab the blood-clawed azure eagle's body. They didn't even have time to take care of themselves, let alone the leisure to observe others. Zhang Yi was speechless, his forehead sweating. Suddenly, his gaze fell on Princess Sixyun, and he quickly retorted, I was just looking at Princess Sixyun, that's why I observed you. Don't slander me. Princess Sixyun's face darkened, her expression annoyed, and she said, Zhang Yi, why were you looking at me? Princess Sixyun, your appearance is absolutely beautiful, like a celestial being. Zhang was involuntarily attracted to you. Please don't take offense. Zhang Yi said bravely. He had already made up his mind that he would rather be disgusted by Princess Sixyun than admit what he had done. Princess Sixyun was so angry that her face turned crimson. If they weren't on the back of the blood-clawed azure eagle, she would have loved to give Zhang Yi a slap. Grandmaster Yuan Feng, Lord Xiao Zhan, I swear, I absolutely did not attack the blood-clawed azure eagle before. Qin Chen is deliberately saying this to get revenge on me. Also, we were all sitting on the blood-clawed azure eagle's back just now, only Qin Chen's behavior was strange. He actually lay on the blood-clawed azure eagle's back. How could an ordinary person do that? Maybe he used some secret technique to injure the blood-clawed azure eagle, which angered it. He's framing me, maybe he's deliberately trying to clear his own suspicion. It had to be said that Zhang Yi's skin was extremely thick, and his reaction was quick. At this time, he actually made a counter-accusation. Yuan Feng looked at Qin Chen. He had to admit that what Zhang Yi said made sense. If he hadn't used some secret technique, how could Qin Chen, a mere Earth-rank initial stage martial artist, have been able to sit steadily on the blood-clawed azure eagle's back with just his true energy? Even he might not be able to do such a thing. Thinking of this, Yuan Feng's suspicion deepened, and he kept sizing up Qin Chen. Not only him, but everyone else present was also looking at Qin Chen suspiciously. I have to say, Qin Chen's previous actions were too strange, something that ordinary people couldn't do. Being stared at by everyone like this, Qin Chen's expression was very calm, and he said, since everyone doesn't believe me, then just ask the blood-claw azure eagle, and it will know who hurt it just now. Ask the blood-claw azure eagle. Everyone immediately showed a look as if they were looking at an idiot. Do you think the blood-claw azure eagle is human? Will it answer if you ask it? Moreover, if the answer could be known by communicating with the blood-claw azure eagle, Master Yuan Feng would not have asked, he would have done so long ago. The blood-claw azure eagle cannot speak, it can only express emotions. Although I am a beast tamer, I can only roughly understand the meaning it expresses, but I cannot ask clearly who hurt it. Master Yuan Feng snorted coldly. If Master Yuan Feng can't do it, you can let me try to communicate with the blood-claw azure eagle. Let you try. Everyone looked at Qin Chen as if they had seen a ghost. Has Qin Chen's brain been filled with shit? Who does he think he is? A beast tamer. Even Master Yuan Feng, who tamed the blood-claw azure eagle, can't communicate freely with the blood-claw azure eagle. What can you, a little kid, do up there? Still communicate. Do you understand beast taming? Do you know how to communicate with blood beasts? Ling Shan, you see, this Qin Chen is simply a guy who likes to brag and boast. You must not be fooled by him. Princess Sixyun took the opportunity to transmit her voice to Zhao Lingshan, looking at Qin Chen with a disdainful expression. A black line instantly appeared on Zhao Lingshan's forehead, and she said angrily, Sister Sixyun, you really misunderstood, and Qin Chen is not that kind of person. Princess Sixyun didn't expect Zhao Lingshan to speak up for Qin Chen at this time, and shook her head speechlessly. It seems that Ling Shan is too deeply poisoned. No, she must not let this Qin Chen harm Ling Shan. Princess Sixyun secretly gritted her teeth, vowing with a firm gaze. Ignoring everyone's suspicion, Qin Chen suddenly stood up on the eagle's back. Qin Chen, what are you doing? Sit down quickly. Xiao Zhan was shocked, his face full of horror, and he hurried forward. This Qin Chen is too bold, he actually stood up on the back of the Blood Claw Azure Eagle, isn't this courting death? The flying speed of the Blood Claw Azure Eagle is so fast, even a heaven rank expert may not be able to stand firmly on its back. Qin Chen, a mere earth rank martial artist, is afraid that before he can fully stand up, he will have already been blown away by the strong wind. In shock and anger, Xiao Zhan hurriedly wanted to take action, but before he could reach Qin Chen, the next moment, his outstretched hand stopped. He saw Qin Chen standing steadily on the back of the Blood Claw Azure Eagle, the strong wind blowing his robes and making him rustle, but he didn't notice it at all. His body didn't shake at all, as if he was walking on flat ground. How is this possible? Xiao Zhan was so shocked that his eyes were about to pop out, his mouth seemed to be able to fit an egg. You must know that even he had to use his 4th tier profound rank true energy to the extreme to nail himself firmly on the back of the Blood Claw Azure Eagle. How could Qin Chen, an earth rank martial artist, do this? Under the watchful eyes of everyone, Qin Chen calmly came to the neck of the Blood Claw Azure Eagle. Stop! Master Yuan Feng shouted coldly, stopping Qin Chen from continuing forward. How are you going to communicate with the Blood Claw Azure Eagle? He looked at Qin Chen with a solemn expression, asking with doubt. At first, he was very disdainful of Qin Chen, but as Qin Chen showed strange behavior on the Blood Claw Azure Eagle, he had to pay attention to it. Being able to walk on the back of the fast-flying Blood Claw Azure Eagle as if walking on flat ground is definitely not something an ordinary person can do, he must have his extraordinary qualities. At this time, everyone else also had solemn expressions, holding their breath one by one. Especially Zhao Lingshan, she was secretly looking forward to it. These days of getting along with Qin Chen made her vaguely feel that Qin Chen was already omnipotent, and what he said might really be possible. One by one, even their breathing stopped, staring at Qin Chen, wanting to see how he communicated with the Blood Claw Azure Eagle. It's okay, I can do it here. Stopped by Master Yuan Feng, Qin Chen stood still expressionlessly. He squatted down slightly, stroking the feathers of the Blood Claw Azure Eagle with his hand, his movements gentle, as if containing magical magic. Everyone's breathing stopped, their eyes widened, full of horror. Could it be that Qin Chen really has a great deal of research on beast taming? Can he communicate with blood beasts? This is too incredible. No, it's impossible. How could he understand beast taming? Zhang Yi's palms were sweating nervously, and his breathing was rapid. At this moment, Qin Chen suddenly raised his head. Everyone was startled, looking at Qin Chen nervously, and saw Qin Chen raise his head and shout in the ear of the Blood Claw Azure Eagle. Blood Claw Azure Eagle, Blood Claw Azure Eagle, who hurt you just now? If you hear it, throw him off your back and give him a good lesson. Thump. In an instant, everyone fell down, one by one almost going crazy. Damn it. They thought Qin Chen had research on beast taming and was going to use some secret technique, so they were looking forward to it. Who knew that this guy's so-called communication was just talking directly in the ear of the Blood Claw Azure Eagle? Damn it. What kind of communication is this? The Blood Claw Azure Eagle is a blood beast. If it could understand human language, everyone would be a beast tamer. Would it be your turn? Everyone only felt their brains dizzy, unable to complain. Qin Chen, is this your communication? Xiao Zhan's face was full of black lines, looking at Qin Chen. Did this guy think everyone was an idiot? Ha ha ha. You're killing me. Oh my god. Princess Sixyun laughed so hard that tears almost fell, almost falling off the eagle's back. Qin Chen, are you playing us? Zhang Yi felt a stone fall to the ground in his heart, regaining his vitality, revealing a ferocious expression, and shouted angrily. You should be careful. Qin Chen turned his head, looked at Zhang Yi, his eyes full of mockery. Me careful? Ha ha. What should I be careful about? It's not me. Zhang Yi completely relaxed, opening his mouth triumphantly, but before he could finish speaking, suddenly. Screech. The blood-claw azure eagle let out a long cry, as if it understood Qin Chen's words, and its body suddenly shook violently. Everyone's complexion changed drastically, their hearts were horrified. What was going on? What happened? One by one, they grabbed the back of the blood-claw azure eagle tightly. Zhang Yi was the same, his hands tightly clutching the feathers of the blood-claw azure eagle, but from those feathers, a huge impact force suddenly came out. Before he could react, he had already been blown away by this impact force and fell into the clouds. No! Save me! Zhang Yi's terrified face, a miserable scream came from below the clouds. After that, the vibration of the blood-claw azure eagle stopped, and everyone stabilized. But their hearts were not stable at all. One by one, a shocking wave was set off. What's going on? Could it be that the blood-claw azure eagle really understood Qin Chen's words and shook off the person who hurt him? At this moment, everyone was inexplicably horrified, unable to calm down. Master Yuan Feng, quickly save Zhang Yi. Xiao Zhan hurriedly said. If Zhang Yi died here, how would he explain it to Marquis Zhenan upon his return? Xiao King, go. Master Yuan Feng patted the blood-claw blue eagle's neck. The blood-claw blue eagle turned its head, seemingly very dissatisfied with Master Yuan Feng's request. At this time, Master Yuan Feng also understood that it was very likely Zhang Yi who had injured the blood-claw blue eagle earlier. It's just that at this moment, the blood-claw blue eagle simply wouldn't listen to his command. Your Highness, Lingwu, the blood-claw blue eagle won't listen to my orders anymore, Master Yuan Feng said helplessly. Although the blood-claw blue eagle was a blood beast he had tamed, the relationship between the two was not one of enslavement, but of partnership. He couldn't force the blood-claw blue eagle to do something it didn't want to do. Qin Chen, this blood-claw blue eagle can understand your words. Quickly tell it to save Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi must not die here. Xiao Zhan looked anxiously at Qin Chen. Now he could only place his hope on Qin Chen. The blood-claw blue eagle is a blood beast I tamed. Although it can understand what this kid says, it won't do things it doesn't want to do, even if this kid tells it to. Master Yuan Feng coldly snorted. The blood-claw blue eagle turned out like this because of this kid. Even the blood-claw blue eagle wouldn't listen to him. Would Qin Chen have any effect? What a joke. Blood-claw blue eagle, just teach that kid a lesson. If you really kill him, Lingwu will be in big trouble. Since His Highness, Lingwu, Xiao Zhan, had spoken, Qin Chen couldn't refuse to give him face. After all, His Highness, Lingwu, Xiao Zhan, had taken good care of him in the beginning. Moreover, killing Zhang Yi here wasn't very convenient. Yo! Hearing Qin Chen's words, the blood-claw blue eagle unwillingly let out a long cry. Its body suddenly turned, and it swooped down towards the clouds below. It actually listened. Everyone was dumbfounded, one by one stunned. Just now, the blood-claw blue eagle wouldn't even listen to Master Yuan Feng's orders. How could it go when Qin Chen spoke? Were they seeing things? Among them, the most devastated was Master Yuan Feng. Was Qin Chen the beast tamer or was he the beast tamer? Why did it feel like the blood-claw blue eagle was a blood beast tamed by Qin Chen? How fast was the blood-claw blue eagle? In the blink of an eye, everyone saw Zhang Yi, who was falling, already with tears streaming down his face in fear, his whole body trembling, and his face pale. Letting out a dissatisfied long cry, the blood-claw blue eagle swooped down just before Zhang Yi crashed into the mountain range. Its blood-colored sharp claws clamped Zhang Yi's waist, and it soared into the sky again. Quickly get Zhang Yi up here. Looking at Zhang Yi, who was trembling all over and too frightened to speak, Xiao Zhan hurriedly shouted. Yo! Qin Chen said. The blood-claw blue eagle said, it can only fly with Zhang Yi like this. Xiao Zhan glanced at Zhang Yi, who was shivering in the cold wind, and could only sigh helplessly. As long as Zhang Yi didn't die, he would have an explanation. Returning to the back of the eagle, Qin Chen sat cross-legged, closing his eyes to rest. It's just that at this moment, no one dared to underestimate him anymore. Everyone looked at Qin Chen with shocked eyes, their hearts greatly impacted. Being able to communicate with blood beasts, just this one ability alone, had already shocked everyone. Before, when Qin Chen was lying on the back of the blood claw blue eagle, Qin Feng had also thought of letting Qin Chen fall off the back of the eagle like Zhang Yi, but later Zhang Yi made the first move. Now that such a thing had happened, Qin Feng's heart was greatly shaken. Fortunately, I didn't make a move just now, otherwise, I'm afraid I would be in danger too. Qin Feng took a deep look at Qin Chen. Until now, he still hadn't figured out how Qin Chen communicated with the blood claw blue eagle. Although heavenly-level blood beasts already had a certain amount of intelligence, they could only have the simplest communication with people. Even beast tamers like Master Yuan Feng might not be able to communicate very freely with the blood beasts they tamed. But Qin Chen did it. He must have hidden some amazing secrets on his body, otherwise it would be impossible to do these things. Thinking of this, Qin Feng's heart stirred slightly. You must know that Qin Chen's talent, he had already understood it very well before leaving the royal capital to join the army. It wasn't anything remarkable. Moreover, it was said that in the previous few years, Qin Chen hadn't even awakened his bloodline, and was called a waste in Tianxing Academy. But later, in a short period of half a year, his cultivation advanced by leaps and bounds, and he won the championship of the Tianxing Academy's year-end exam in one fell swoop. Now, he could even communicate with blood beasts. All of this indicated a possibility, that in this half a year, Qin Chen must have obtained some heaven-defying opportunity, which could make him advance so rapidly in cultivation and become so different in this short half a year. It seems that I can't kill this kid in a hurry. I must find a deserted place to interrogate him properly and see what kind of opportunity he has obtained. Qin Feng thought to himself. Qin Feng had also obtained some adventures on the border of the Great Qi Kingdom in these years. He knew very well how much change some ancient ruins, relics of the strong, and other adventures could bring to a martial artist. After this twist, many people calmed down. Even Princess Sixyun looked at Qin Chen with strange eyes. Qin Chen, was the blood claw blue eagle really injured by Zhang Yi just now? Zhao Lingshan asked curiously from the side. Otherwise, what did you think? Qin Chen smiled. Qin Chen, then you have to be careful. You humiliated Zhang Yi so much in the palace before, and just now you exposed his affairs, causing him to be so embarrassed. This person is said to be a very vindictive person. He will definitely not let you go easily. You must pay attention to safety when you are in the blood spirit pool, Zhao Lingshan reminded. Princess Sixyun said, don't worry, there are many soldiers of our great Qi kingdom stationed in the Demon Ancestor mountain range. As long as you reach the location of the blood spirit pool, Zhang Yi will definitely not dare to touch you. I hope so. Qin Chen smiled. Even in front of His Highness, Lingwu, Xiao Zhan, Zhang Yi dared to make a move. Qin Chen didn't believe that the blood spirit pool would be safe. Moreover, some people definitely wished he was dead more than Zhang Yi did. It's good if Zhang Yi learns a lesson and doesn't provoke me. If he dares to provoke me, it won't be as easy to end this time. Qin Chen smiled coldly. Two cold rays shot out from his eyes. The Demon Ancestor mountain range is an extremely majestic mountain range in the northwest of the continent, spanning the 5 northwestern countries, nearly 100,000 miles long, with vast territory and rich true energy, like a long dragon, lying in the 5 northwestern countries. Including the Great Qi Kingdom, a large number of martial artists from the 5 northwestern countries enter the Demon Ancestor mountain range every year to take risks. Countless martial artists fall in it. But at the same time, many martial artists also obtain amazing wealth. In addition, there are also some huge sects that stand in the Demon Ancestor mountain range, such as the extremely famous Lingtian sect in the 5 northwestern countries, which is rumored to be built on the outer edge of the Demon Ancestor mountain range. There are even rumors that the headquarters of the Blood Demon sect, which has been plaguing the 5 northwestern countries, is also located in the depths of the Demon Ancestor mountain range. This is not baseless. The vast majority of sects establish their territory in areas frequented by blood beasts. This offers two advantages. First, sects are places for nurturing geniuses, and being located where blood beasts roam makes it more convenient for disciples to train. Second, the monster ancestor mountain range is overrun with blood beasts, making it easy to defend and difficult to attack, which increases the difficulty for other sects to invade. The blood spirit pool is located in the more central part of the monster ancestor mountain range. Several days later, when the blood claw azure hawk flew into the monster ancestor mountain range, everyone was awestruck by the sight before them. The distant mountain range stretched out like a giant dragon, traversing the continent, lush and verdant, with grotesque rocks that inspired a sense of insignificance. Looking out, dense forests lay below, and the roars of blood beasts echoed everywhere. Among them, many blood beasts emanated monstrous auras that could be felt even from 1,000 meters in the sky. Everyone paled. Even heaven-tier experts might not be able to handle such blood beasts, let alone these earth-tier martial artists. Xiao Zhan said, "The monster ancestor mountain range is teeming with blood beasts, and dangers abound. The blood spirit pool is deep within the monster ancestor mountain range. Without the blood claw azure hawk, it would not only take several times longer, but we would also encounter numerous dangers, and we could easily be injured or even perish. In the previous 2 trips to the blood spirit pool, our great Qi Kingdom's team suffered casualties. Fortunately, we have the blood claw azure hawk this time," Li Qingfeng said with relief. Xiao Zhan added, "Actually, the sky isn't completely safe either." Before he could finish speaking, screech! A series of sharp cries rang out, and a swarm of dark, purple flame-covered avian blood beasts suddenly appeared ahead. These blood beasts were only half a meter in size, but there were many of them, numbering over 100. They had spotted the blood claw azure hawk carrying Qin Chen and the others, and with a whoosh, they swarmed over like a dark cloud. "It's the violet flame bird." The expressions on everyone's faces turned pale, and they exclaimed in alarm. The violet flame bird is a Tier 2 gregarious blood beast. Strong violet flame birds can even be Tier 3 heaven-tier blood beasts. When they attack, they often come in flocks of hundreds, and ordinary heaven-tier blood beasts on the ground dare not confront them, making them incredibly ferocious. Although the blood claw azure hawk they were riding was a heaven-tier blood beast, it would still be doomed if surrounded by a large number of violet flame birds. In an instant, a large number of violet flame birds swarmed over like dense clouds. "Everyone, be careful. Prepare for battle." Master Yuan Feng's expression changed, and he hurriedly shouted. The next moment, a large number of violet flame birds had already swarmed over frantically. "You beasts, courting death." Lingwu King Xiao Zhan's expression was cold, and a black battle blade suddenly appeared in his hand. Xiao Zhan flicked his right wrist, and countless black blade lights suddenly appeared in the void, layered upon layered, with a sharp whistling sound, instantly rushing into the violet flame bird swarm ahead. Boom! The dense blade lights slashed into the violet flame bird swarm, and terrified cries immediately rang out. Blood splattered everywhere. With one strike, the countless blade lights were like a meat grinder, instantly devouring a dozen Tier 2 violet flame birds. Puff! 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 A large number of violet flame birds screamed as they fell from the sky, their cries miserable. As expected of the great Qi Kingdom's #1 expert, a Tier 4 profound Tier peak martial artist, only one step away from the sect tier. He is indeed extraordinary. Qin Chen narrowed his eyes. When martial artists advance from the heaven tier to the profound tier, their true Qi transforms into a more powerful true power. Under this strike, ordinary Tier 2 blood beasts are simply unable to resist. The blood claw azure hawk also flapped its wings, and the wind blade-like edges of its wings were like sharp blades, instantly cutting several violet flame birds in two. Master Yuan Feng was also sitting on the blood claw azure hawk's head, and a long whip suddenly appeared in his hand. With a flick, he whipped a violet flame bird into a bloody mist, and they fell one after another. However, the number of violet flame birds attacking this time was simply too great. Even so, some violet flame birds broke through the defenses and came close to Qin Chen and the others. Although the cultivation levels of the few on the blood claw azure hawk's back were not high, they were all genius figures of the great Qi Kingdom. After a slight shock, they quickly reacted and took action one after another. In an instant, several violet flame birds were killed by the group, and it was a close call. Among them, Qin Feng was the most terrifying. With one palm strike, 2 violet flame birds were directly blasted into a bloody mist, his fist might vast and mighty. Under the attacks of the group, in just a moment, nearly half of the 100 violet flame birds had died. Seemingly realizing the danger, one of the violet flame bird leaders cried out, wanting to flee. Die! Xiao Zhan roared, gripping his blade with both hands and slashing down ferociously. Buzz! A strange power of bloodline bloomed from his body, followed by a blade aura that burst forth from the battle blade, instantly slashing onto the violet flame bird leader's body. With a puff, the heaven-tier violet flame bird leader didn't even have time to react before being instantly killed, exploding into a bloody mist. The remaining violet flame birds, seeing this, all cried out in terror and fled in panic. In the blink of an eye, they disappeared without a trace, coming quickly and leaving quickly. Continue onward. Xiao Zhan sheathed his blade and continued to stand at the blood claw azure hawk's neck, his body unwavering. Too terrifying. A heaven-tier blood beast, killed with a single strike. Unbelievable. Li Qingfeng and the others were shocked, all of them dumbfounded and dizzy. When will I be able to have such cultivation? I'm afraid I could roam freely in the great Qi kingdom. After this wave of violet flame bird attacks, the hearts of the crowd were no longer relaxed. They all realized that this was different from the great Qi kingdom. This was the sky above the monster ancestor mountain range, and there could be danger everywhere. Along the way, Qin Chen and the others encountered 2 more waves of attacks, one from a heaven-tier iron-tailed griffin and the other from a heaven-tier late-stage phoenix feather beast. The iron-tailed griffin was killed by Xiao Zhan with a single strike, but the phoenix feather beast was very cunning, seemingly knowing Xiao Zhan's power, and kept releasing wind blades from afar. Fortunately, the blood claw azure hawk was extremely fast. Using its speed, it caught up with the phoenix feather beast, and Xiao Zhan was able to seriously injure it, causing it to flee. Everyone's hearts were all raised. They hadn't even reached the deepest part of the monster ancestor mountain range yet, and they had already encountered so many flying blood beasts. If they were to encounter another tier 4 profound tier blood beast next, in the sky, once a battle broke out, everyone would definitely be in mortal danger. In order to prevent accidents, Master Yuan Feng immediately had the blood claw azure hawk control its flying altitude, flying quickly over the monster ancestor mountain range at a height of 100 meters. In this way, even if they encountered danger, they would have a chance to react. However, at such a height, they would not only be attacked by flying birds and blood beasts in the sky, but also some special ground blood beasts could attack them. Along the way, Xiao Zhan and the others were quite nervous. Fortunately, over 1,000 miles, everyone was safe and sound, and they did not encounter any particularly terrifying blood beasts. Finally, on the second day, the blood claw azure hawk finally approached the location of the blood spirit pool. When the crowd arrived above the valley near the blood spirit pool, everyone was stunned by the sight below. Looking out, the valley ahead was full of dense military camp buildings, like a marching battlefield. Who goes there? As they approached the military camp, a stern shout immediately came from the foremost sentry tower, containing murderous intent. Throughout the military camp, a bloody aura permeated, creating a terrifying and vast atmosphere. Xiao Zhan stood on the back of the blood claw azure eagle and shouted sternly, "I am Xiao Zhan, report at once." "So it's Lord Xiao Zhan." Upon hearing the voice, the man responded respectfully and then struck a warning bell on the watchtower. Clang, clang, clang. 3 rings of the bell indicated the arrival of an important figure. The military camp immediately opened, and a large number of figures emerged from within. At this moment, the blood claw azure eagle carrying Qin Chen and the others landed on the empty space in the middle of the military camp. Subordinate Yan Huai greets King Lingwu, 4th Prince, Princess Xixun, and Princess Lingshan. The leading figure was a robust man in his 40s, clad in black iron armor, exuding an extraordinary aura. He approached the group and respectfully cupped his fist. As the garrison commander of the Great Qi Kingdom at the Blood Spirit Pool, he naturally knew who was coming. General Yan Huai, no need for formalities. Is the camp prepared? King Lingwu Xiao Zhan asked. Replying to King Lingwu, it has long been prepared. Xiao Zhan nodded slightly, you've worked hard. Since the blood spirit pool was discovered a century ago, there had been a considerable period of conflict. Therefore, each of the Northwest 5 nations had a garrison stationed outside the blood spirit pool. Even after the 5 nations reached an agreement and held the 5 nations tournament, although many of the garrisons were withdrawn, some remained. The purpose of these garrisons was not only to monitor each other, preventing any country from violating the agreement, but also to hunt some of the surrounding blood beasts, preventing them from damaging the blood spirit pool area. Yan Huai was the general guarding the blood spirit pool this term. Guarding the blood spirit pool was extremely arduous, requiring constant interaction with blood beasts. It was not only dangerous but also extremely tedious. Moreover, each term lasted at least 10 years, with the longest lasting 15 or 20 years, making it a thankless task. Yan Huai's expression was stern as he cupped his fist and said, "This is the subordinate's duty." While Yan Huai and Xiao Zhan were conversing, Qin Chen and the others were also surveying their surroundings. They noticed that besides the numerous soldiers emerging from the surrounding camps, there were also many young men around the age of 20, standing at a distance and pointing at them. Are these the geniuses from our great Qi kingdom entering the blood spirit pool this time? I heard there are 4 teenagers inside, just graduated from Tianxing Academy. They must be those 4. I don't know what His Majesty is thinking. In the past, the slots to enter the blood spirit pool were selected from geniuses in their early 20s. This time, His Majesty actually broke the norm and directly gave 4 slots to a few students who just graduated from Tianxing Academy. It's simply too unfair. Hey, fair. Do you think it was fair in the past? Save it. Who told us we don't have connections? That's right. Look closely. Among the 8 slots this time, there are the 4th prince, Princess Xixun, and Princess Lingshan, all members of the royal family. Besides them, there are also the direct sons of Marquis Zhongyan and Marquis Wuan, as well as the direct grandson and grandson-in-law of King Dingwu. The blood spirit pool slots are basically tailored for these children of the powerful and wealthy. This time is already not bad. I heard there's even a commoner. In the past, there wasn't even a single commoner. The crowd pointed and whispered, quite disgruntled. The voices of these people were not loud, but everyone present was powerful enough to hear many of the gossiping words. All of you, shut up. Yan Huai shouted coldly. Seeing Yan Huai's rage, everyone fell silent, as they had suffered enough under Yan Huai these days. Who are they? Zhao Lingshan asked in confusion. Princess Lingshan, they are also young martial artists from our great Qi kingdom participating in the 5 nations tournament this time. They were transferred to the Demon Ancestor mountain range a month ago for training and improvement, Yan Huai explained. The 5 nations tournament was not only for those who entered the blood spirit pool but also a grand competition. Each country would send a large number of talented martial artists to participate, not only to compete for the blood spirit pool but also as a contest between countries. The more geniuses who could enter the top few dozen, the stronger the country was often considered to be. And this group of people was selected from the top geniuses from all over the Great Qi Kingdom, entering the Demon Ancestor mountain range in advance for training. Although they were not qualified to enter the blood spirit pool, if they achieved a higher ranking in the tournament, they could still be rewarded by the Great Qi Kingdom and rise through the ranks. However, although they had the qualifications to participate, they were fundamentally unable to enter the blood spirit pool. This also caused many of them to feel unbalanced. Looking at these people in front of him, Qin Chen sighed softly. In this world, where is there true fairness? Being given the qualification to participate was already giving them a chance to change their own destinies. Moreover, Qin Chen only glanced at them and knew that these people's talents were fundamentally incomparable to Wang Qiming and the others. The reason they had higher cultivation levels now was simply because they were a few years older. Are you unconvinced? Xiao Zhan walked out from the crowd and came before these young people. In the face of Xiao Zhan's aura, everyone held their breath and remained silent. Just kidding, the person in front of them was Lord Xiao Zhan, known as the strongest in the Great Qi Kingdom. If they offended him, even if they were beaten to death, they would have no recourse. What? Weren't you shouting very loudly just now? Why is everyone silent now? Could it be that the so-called geniuses of my great Qi kingdom are all cowards? Xiao Zhan shouted in a low voice, his eyes indifferent. Lord Xiao Zhan, we are not cowards. Yes, we are unconvinced. Why should all the benefits be given to the nobles and not give us ordinary people a chance? If you give us a chance, we will definitely let you know that we are not inferior to them. A young man suddenly raised his head, his face flushed, and said stubbornly. He pointed at Qin Chen and the others, his eyes filled with unyieldingness. Behind him, many other young people also raised their heads, their eyes stubborn, biting their lips, obviously having the same thoughts. You are all ordinary people. Xiao Zhan sneered, his gaze sweeping over everyone present, like a sharp blade. Wherever it passed, everyone couldn't help but lower their heads. He sneered, most of you come from all over my great Qi kingdom, but in your own hometowns, I'm afraid that even if you are not the children of officials, you are certainly not just ordinary commoners. The saying goes, poor scholars, rich warriors. Cultivating martial arts requires a lot of resources. Not to mention anything else, just the elixirs and cultivation techniques alone are essential. To be able to cultivate to the middle or even late stages of the Earth realm in one's early 20s, even if their status is not as good as the fourth prince and the others, they are certainly not just ordinary commoners. At Xiao Zhan's voice, all the young men couldn't help but lower their heads. Indeed, among them, those truly born as commoners were very few, barely 1 in 10. However, since you have raised such a request, I, Xiao Zhan, naturally cannot ignore it. And suddenly, Xiao Zhan changed his tone. How about this? Among you, whoever feels they can defeat them, just step forward. As long as you can defeat them, I will take it upon myself to give their blood spirit pool qualification to you. And as Xiao Zhan's words fell, the entire military camp instantly erupted in an uproar. Everyone looked up, in disbelief. As long as they defeat these few people, they can seize their blood spirit pool qualification. Is this not real? I, Xiao Zhan, in the Great Qi Kingdom, am considered a household name. You wouldn't think that I don't keep my word, would you? And Xiao Zhan's expression was calm, dispelling everyone's concerns. In an instant, everyone's breathing became rapid, each one looking at Qin Chen and the others with fiery eyes. They were all too clear about the blood spirit pool. It was a place that could transform a martial artist's own talent and physique. As long as one could enter it, even if they couldn't break through at that time, reaching the heaven realm in the future would be a certainty. Looking at the history of the Great Qi Kingdom, all the geniuses who had entered the blood spirit pool, as long as they didn't die prematurely, had all reached the heaven realm, and almost all of them were at least late-stage peak heaven realm experts. As for whether they could step into the fourth order profound realm, it would depend on each person's talent and opportunities. Precisely because of this, they valued the blood spirit pool slots so much. Originally, they all thought that they had no hope. Now, Xiao Zhan's words instantly reignited hope in the hearts of many geniuses. I want to challenge. And a young man in his early 20s, with brown hair and exposed arms, stepped out. His whole body was bulging with muscles, and there were several scars on his arms, giving people the feeling of a tough, iron-blooded man. It's Zong Qiang. And not good, he actually got ahead of us. And damn it, I was actually spacing out just now. And despicable. And with Zong Qiang's cultivation, it would be easy to seize a slot. And seeing Zong Qiang step out, many people finally reacted and regretted it. This was a hard-earned opportunity, and they were actually spacing out just now. It was simply unforgivable. But now, it was too late to regret. Zong Qiang's strength, after these days of training, was very clear to these people. His cultivation had reached the mid-stage of the Earth realm, making him extremely terrifying. Among the many trained genius martial artists, he could be ranked in the forefront. Who do you want to challenge? And Xiao Zhan looked at this person and asked indifferently. Zong Qiang swept his gaze across Qin Chen and the others, and finally pointed to Wang Qiming, saying, it's him. And as expected, seeing the opponent that Zong Qiang challenged, everyone couldn't help but feel even more regretful. They naturally didn't dare to challenge top geniuses like Qin Feng and the fourth prince, and they couldn't challenge them either. Their target was actually these few young men who had just graduated from Tianxing Academy. These four guys had just graduated from Tianxing Academy, and their cultivation was only at the early stage of the Earth realm. What waves could they make? Giving them the blood spirit pool slots was simply a waste. However, among the four students of this class, one was Princess Lingshan, the beloved daughter of Prince Kang, with a noble status. One was the direct son of Marquis Wuan, with an extraordinary position, and there was another who was said to be the grandson of Prince Dingwu. Although it was said that he had been expelled from the Qin family, he was obviously of great origin. Only Wang Qiming had no background, just a commoner. If they challenged Princess Lingshan, Li Qingfeng, and others, even if they won, with the other party's status, they could still kill themselves in minutes. So, the only one who could be challenged was Wang Qiming. This was also the reason why they wanted to be the first to compete. Once Zong Qiang challenged that kid, the people behind them would have no chance to challenge Wang Qiming. Then you should go up. And, seeing the opponent that Zong Qiang challenged, Xiao Zhan just smiled coldly. Yes. And, with a cold expression, Wang Qiming walked out of the crowd. Begin. And, he lowered his eyes, staring at the battle knife in his hand, the whole person, like a wooden stake, standing in place. In fact, in his heart, anger was burning. These people were too hateful. Did they think he was easy to bully? Before, he was injured by Qin Feng in the palace, and now, these people were challenging him again. Since that was the case, was he really that easy to bully? Although angry in his heart, Wang Qiming's heart became even colder, like ice, without a trace of emotion. His heart was completely immersed in his own knife. At this moment, he was the knife, and the knife was him. Don't worry, I won't do anything to you, I just want to defeat you, so you don't have to worry. And Zong Qiang smiled and stepped forward. If you want to attack, then attack, why so much nonsense? And Wang Qiming raised his head, his eyes cold. You and Zong Qiang's expression froze. Too arrogant. He had kindly spoken, but he was so unappreciative. Since that was the case, then he shouldn't blame himself for being ruthless. Since that's the case, then I'm attacking. And with a cold shout, Zong Qiang's eyes were cold, and the true qi in his body flowed rapidly, flowing through the meridians to his arms. In an instant, Zong Qiang's arms turned crimson red, emitting a scorching heat wave, rushing towards him, distorting the surrounding air. The surrounding people were all moved. Zong Qiang's scorching flame fist had already reached the third level several months ago. Now, after a month of training, his true qi is even more profound. Ordinary martial artists are probably not his opponents at all. And that's right. Zong Qiang's cultivation has also reached the mid-stage of the Earth realm, which can be called top-notch among so many of us. Combined with his bloodline, he can even fight against late-stage Earth realm experts for more than a dozen rounds. And I heard that this kid on the opposite side just broke through to the early stage of the Earth realm this year and graduated from Tianxing Academy less than 2 months ago. It's easy for Zong Qiang to defeat him. And damn it, why wasn't I the one who attacked just now? And everyone sighed, regretting it. At this time, Zong Qiang's fist had already brought a monstrous scorching wave, instantly arriving in front of Wang Qiming. Boom! The raging fist wind, like a burning flame, instantly enveloped Wang Qiming's entire body, seeming to completely burn him to ashes. Everyone could already imagine the scene of Wang Qiming being instantly defeated under one punch. Clang! And at this critical moment, Wang Qiming finally drew his knife. It was impossible to describe the amazingness of this knife. A clear sound like a dragon's roar rang out, and the entire world seemed to be split open by this knife. Boom! And the monstrous flames were instantly divided into two, split by a true qi knife wave. The knife wave didn't lose momentum and struck Zong Qiang's chest. Bang! And Zong Qiang screamed miserably, flew out, fell heavily to the ground, and spat out a mouthful of blood. His chest was split open by the true qi knife wave, creating a 3-foot-long bloody opening. Even 2 of his meridians were broken, and scarlet blood kept gushing out of the wound. With just one move, Zhong Qiang was seriously injured and lost his fighting power. The entire place was instantly silent, a scene of horror. Blade intent. It's blade intent. At this moment, someone exclaimed in shock, staring intently at Wang Qiming. This person actually comprehended blade intent. He looks to be only 16 or 17, right? This is impossible. Everyone was shocked, dumbfounded. Blade intent is a terrifying realm that one can only possess after comprehending blade techniques to an extreme degree. Once one possesses blade intent, it signifies that this person has reached a level in the comprehension of blade techniques that ordinary people simply cannot achieve. Generally speaking, even a heaven-tier expert might not necessarily comprehend blade intent. But now, a youth who just graduated from Tianxing Academy, only 16 or 17 years old, actually comprehended blade intent. Compared to him, these people, have simply lived their entire lives in vain. This should only be considered a nascent form of blade intent, still some distance away from true blade intent, but not far off. Beside him, Qin Chen's eyes lit up. The intent of Wang Qiming's earlier strike could only be considered a nascent form of blade intent, and not true blade intent. Even so, for a 16 or 17-year-old youth to comprehend a nascent form of blade intent is already extremely terrifying. Not far away, Qin Feng glanced at Wang Qiming in surprise. He didn't expect that this guy actually comprehended a nascent form of blade intent in these few days. However, as long as it's not true blade intent, there's nothing to be concerned about. Clang! In the center of the arena, Wang Qiming sheathed his blade and stood indifferently to the side, expressionless. Is there anyone else who wants to come up and challenge? Xiao Zhan asked calmly. Silence reigned. The crowd looked at each other, and for a moment, no one stepped forward. Just as Xiao Zhan was about to speak again, a youth wearing a light gray martial robe walked out with gritted teeth. His hair stood on end, his eyes were fierce, and there was a scar on his face, making him look extremely ferocious. It's Jiang Zheng. Jiang Zheng's cultivation has already reached the peak of the mid-earth tier, only a step away from the late earth tier. It seems he's not willing to give up. With his cultivation, he might be able to win a spot. The crowd stirred, all looking over. Jiang Zheng's strength is even more terrifying than Zhong Qiang's. He's one of the strongest among them. Who do you want to challenge? Xiao Zhan narrowed his eyes. Challenge him. That youth named Jiang Zheng swept his gaze across Qin Chen and the others, finally stopping his gaze on Qin Chen, pointing with his hand. Me. Qin Chen was stunned, touching his nose. Someone actually wants to challenge him. This person should be Qin Chen, the grandson of Tianwu King, right? Jiang Zheng actually dares to challenge him. I heard that this person is the champion of this year's Tianxing Academy year-end exam. His strength is definitely not weaker than the previous Wang Qiming. The key is that Tianwu King is the military god of our great Qi kingdom. Does Jiang Zheng still want to join the army and earn merits in the future? Although these people are training in the Demon Ancestor mountain range, their information is not blocked. They are quite familiar with the origins of Qin Chen and the others. Seeing Jiang Zheng wanting to challenge Qin Chen, everyone was quite surprised. That's right. I heard that this Qin Chen has been expelled from the Qin family and has nothing to do with the Qin family anymore. Moreover, I heard that this person crippled Qin Fen, the second son of the Qin family, in the year-end exam, angering the Qin family. As soon as Qin Feng returned from the border, he challenged him to a life-and-death battle, but he didn't dare to accept the challenge. Now, the two sides have already torn their faces. That's very likely. Have you noticed that from the time they arrived at the military camp until now, Qin Feng and Qin Chen, as Qin family members, haven't walked together, haven't said a word, and haven't even exchanged a glance? The rumors are very likely to be true. If that's the case, then there won't be any consequences for challenging this Qin Chen. Some well-informed people communicated with each other, and everyone suddenly understood, secretly admiring him. Jiang Zheng is really too shrewd. He actually thought of challenging Qin Chen. Besides Qin Chen having severed ties with the Qin family, he is also the youngest one here, and his cultivation is naturally the weakest. Moreover, the Tianxing Academy year-end exam was almost a month ago. From the news that was passed down, Wang Qiming hadn't been heard to have comprehended a nascent form of blade intent before. Obviously he comprehended it after the year-end exam. In this way, the so-called year-end exam ranking no longer counts. After all, that's just a thing of the past. Then come on. Touching his nose, Qin Chen walked to the center of the open space. Be careful. With a low shout, Jiang Zheng's body suddenly surged with violent true energy. Boom. It was as if a plume of essence energy rose straight from his body, the surging power of true energy shaking the crowd. Savage King Overlord Fist. With a roar, Jiang Zheng's body surged with true energy, like a humanoid tank, rumbling over. His 5 fingers clenched, and a punch was thrown, like a thunderous bombardment, the roar resounding throughout the mountain forest. Everyone could feel that the power contained in this punch was enough to blast apart an ancient tree. It's the profound grade low-tier Savage King Overlord Fist. The fist is like thunder. This is the effect that only comes when the Savage King Overlord Fist reaches the 4th level. When did Jiang Zheng's Savage King Overlord Fist actually break through? Everyone was shocked, one after another exclaiming. The 4th level of the Savage King Overlord Fist is enough to heavily injure a late Earth tier expert. No wonder Jiang Zheng was so confident before. While the crowd was exclaiming, the 4th prince and the others looked at Jiang Zheng with strange expressions, full of pity. This guy, actually competing fists with Qin Chen. Several people couldn't help but look at Zhang Yi, who had been carried by the Blood Claw Azure Eagle for a few days, and whose face was still a little pale. Even Zhang Yi was instantly defeated by Qin Chen's punch. How could this Jiang Zheng be stronger than Zhang Yi? Sure enough, as they expected, the moment Jiang Zheng's fist arrived, Qin Chen suddenly moved. He didn't gather momentum in any way, just calmly, he threw a punch. Bang! Iron fists collided in the void, like a thunderclap. Then, a scream was heard. How did Jiang Zheng come? How did he fly out, lying on the ground, his face in pain? How is that possible? Seeing this scene, the many young martial artists present were all dumbfounded, their eyeballs almost falling to the ground. Could they have gotten it wrong? Before, Wang Qiming, comprehending blade intent, defeated Zong Qiang with a single strike, was already amazing enough. Changing to Qin Chen, he actually blasted Jiang Zheng away with a single punch. Clean and neat, without any sloppiness. Could it be that this year's Tianxing Academy examinees are all evildoers? The many young geniuses who came to the Demon Ancestor mountain range in advance were all about to go crazy, their hearts suffering great frustration. In terms of age, they were 5 or 6 years older than Qin Chen and the others, but in terms of strength, they were so much worse. Does the heavens still have eyes? One by one, they wanted to cry but had no tears, and were about to cry. Is there anyone else who wants to challenge? Xiao Zhan asked. Everyone looked at each other, silent. What challenge? Even Jiang Zheng was sent flying with one punch. If they went up, they would probably suffer the same fate. No one wanted to do something that would lead to the death. No one else wants to challenge. Seeing that no one dared to step forward, Xiao Zhan coldly snorted, his face indifferent. You are all geniuses of my great Qi kingdom. You should think more about how to survive the upcoming 5 Nations tournament and win a good ranking, rather than fighting among yourselves. Lord Xiao Zhan, is there any bloodshed in this 5 Nations tournament? Someone couldn't help but ask. What do you think? In the last 5 Nations tournament, our great Qi kingdom had a total of 116 young martial artists participating. During the preliminary rounds, 17 died, and 39 were seriously injured or crippled. In the end, only 19 entered the arena and had the qualification to participate in the final tournament. Hearing Xiao Zhan's words, everyone present gasped. They only knew that the 5 Nations tournament was an opportunity, with generous rewards. As long as they obtained a ranking, they would be summoned by His Majesty upon returning to the Great Qi Kingdom, and promotion and titles would be within reach. But they never expected the competition to be so cruel, with such a high mortality rate. Almost half of them would be seriously injured, and 1/10 would perish during the competition. Seeing the horrified expressions on everyone's faces, Xiao Zhan said in a deep voice, although the Northwest 5 Nations are not currently engaged in large-scale wars, there are constant conflicts and frictions between the nations. Take us and the Great Wei Kingdom, for example. Conflicts occur at the border every year, and thousands or even tens of thousands of soldiers die each year. For a country, the number of geniuses is the biggest guarantee of a country's vitality. In order to weaken the strength of other countries, many geniuses are killed by spies from other countries every year. Under such circumstances, the Five Nations tournament, held every 5 years, is a meat grinder for geniuses. Every country wants to kill as many geniuses from other countries as possible in this tournament. And our great Qi kingdom, although not weak among the 5 nations, cannot be considered top-notch. In addition to the 5 nations, there are also geniuses from other regions who will join the tournament, such as some sects and schools in our Northwest 5 nations. This makes the 5 nations tournament, held every 5 years, extremely brutal. The so-called 5 nations tournament is not just about the 5 nations, but also some powerful surrounding sects and schools, as well as some small countries, which will also join in, which is equivalent to a division of Northwest forces. According to the results of the tournament, there will be some changes in the interests of each country every year. A young man gasped, "There are also geniuses from some sects participating in the tournament." "That's right," Xiaozan nodded. The so-called Northwest 5 nations are not the only 5 countries in the entire Northwest. In fact, there are no less than dozens of countries, large and small. It's just that the 5 nations are the top 5 among them. The remaining countries, although weak, also want to cultivate geniuses in order to have more powerful people in the future and successfully rise to become a powerful country. The logic is simple, but the participation of geniuses from some sects is puzzling. "What are they after?" someone asked in confusion. Outside the Northwest 5 nations, there are indeed many powerful sects, but what is their purpose in participating in the 5 nations tournament? Purpose. Xiaozan sneered. The purpose is simple, of course, for resources. For example, this time's blood spirit pool quota is not entirely for people from our Northwest 5 nations. The Soaring Heaven sect, one of the great sects in the Northwest, also has 2 places, and the Ghost Immortal sect is the same. In addition, some other sects also have places. They don't occupy many places, only 1 or 2, but more of it is for the competition for resources. Xiaozan's eyes flashed. For example, more than 100 years ago, the Great Liang Kingdom, one of the 5 nations, discovered a medicinal garden in a place north of the Demon Ancestor mountain range, but that area was only 1,000 miles away from the Soaring Heaven sect. When the Great Liang Kingdom discovered the medicinal garden, the Soaring Heaven sect also discovered it. The Great Liang Kingdom directly dispatched tens of thousands of soldiers to guard the medicinal garden, wanting to forcibly occupy the entire medicinal garden, but the Soaring Heaven sect naturally refused. Therefore, the 2 sides fought fiercely in this area. Although the Soaring Heaven sect didn't have much manpower, they had many experts. They adopted harassment tactics, making it impossible for the Great Liang Kingdom to guard the medicinal garden in peace. Even the experts of the Soaring Heaven sect also mobilized blood beasts to slaughter the garrisons of the Great Liang Kingdom's soldiers. The final result of this battle was a Pyrrhic victory for the Great Liang Kingdom, which eventually occupied the medicinal garden, but at the same time, the Great Liang Kingdom also lost tens of thousands of soldiers and was left with no peace. Several well-known generals were also beheaded by the Soaring Heaven sect in the Demon Ancestor mountain range. Everyone was shocked when they heard this, never expecting that there was such a grudge between the famous Soaring Heaven sect and the Great Liang Kingdom in the Northwest. But the Great Liang Kingdom suffered such a big loss, doesn't it know how to fight back? Someone couldn't help but ask. The Great Liang Kingdom is also one of the 5 great powers in the Northwest. How could it tolerate such provocation from the Soaring Heaven sect? The Great Liang Kingdom naturally had the same idea. The then ruler of the Great Liang Kingdom was furious and directly dispatched a large army to destroy the Soaring Heaven sect. The number of troops gathered that time was as high as hundreds of thousands, but the Soaring Heaven sect was located in the Demon Ancestor mountain range, making it difficult to march. The Soaring Heaven sect, having received the news, dispatched experts to set up a large formation and lured blood beasts, and the 2 sides engaged in a fierce confrontation in the Demon Ancestor mountain range. In that battle, The Great Liang Kingdom suffered heavy losses, with nearly 100,000 of the hundreds of thousands of troops dying, and the Soaring Heaven sect also lost many experts in the desperate fight. Finally, seeing that both sides would suffer heavy losses if they continued to fight, they stopped the war. Later, after the Blood Spirit Pool was discovered, and the Five Nations War and the Five Nations Tournament were launched, the surrounding major sects also coveted the Blood Spirit Pool and joined the Five Nations Tournament. It is stipulated that each Five Nations Tournament is not only a competition of geniuses, but also a competition for resources between the Five Nations and the major sects in the Northwest. Conflicts over some resources can be brought to the Five Nations Tournament to be resolved. The more geniuses a force has, the more initiative it has. Everyone was silent after hearing Xiao Zhan's words. They all thought that the so-called Five Nations Tournament was merely a competition for the Blood Spirit Pool, and for them, these geniuses, it was also an opportunity to make a name for themselves in the Great Qi Kingdom. But they never expected that there would be so many hidden meanings. For a time, everyone held their breath, their hearts heavy. After this battle, the geniuses of the Great Qi country present no longer held the slightest contempt for Qin Chen and the others, and Xiao Zhan's words also weighed heavily on their hearts. You guys, just stay here. The Blood Spirit Pool will be opened in 3 days. Take good care of yourselves. I will send someone to notify you then. Accompanied by Xiao Zhan, Qin Chen and the others were taken to the location of the inner barracks. These barracks were all small tents that had been set up. Considering that you all need to cultivate, in order to prevent you from affecting each other, I have specially applied for 2-person tents for you. If you want to live with someone, you can apply. Otherwise, you will be randomly assigned. The area of this valley is very tense, with too many forces stationed here, so the area for each force is very tight. Like ordinary soldiers, 10 people share a large tent, while the geniuses who come to train share 1 tent for every 4 people. Qin Chen and the others, 2 people in 1 tent, is already considered preferential treatment. Among them, the 4th prince must be in a single room. As the 4th prince of the Great Qi country, no matter what, Xiao Zhan would not let him live with other martial artists. The remaining, Princess Lingshan and Princess Zixun were arranged together. Li Qingfeng and Zhang Yi shared a tent. Qin Chen and Wang Qiming. As for Qin Feng, he ultimately had to occupy a tent alone. After arranging all of this, Xiao Zhan and the others left immediately. After continuous days of rushing, everyone was quite exhausted. I'll rest for a while first. I'll go out to practice at night and won't disturb you. Sharing a room with Qin Chen, Wang Qiming had no expression on his face. After saying lightly, he lay down in the tent and slept with his clothes on. Even when he was sleeping, he held his battle knife, as if the knife was already a part of his body. His whole person was like a vigilant cheetah, ready to leap up and attack at any moment if there was any disturbance. What a sword fanatic! Qin Chen's eyes flashed. Among so many geniuses, he had a good impression of Wang Qiming. To grow from an ordinary person to one of the top geniuses of Qianxing Academy, this person's future achievements will definitely be extraordinary. Sitting cross-legged, Qin Chen began to circulate the 9-star God Emperor art. During these days on the Blood Claw Azure Eagle, Qin Chen did not waste time and continued to cultivate. At this time, the true energy in his body had reached the peak of the early stage of the Earth realm, only 1 step away from stepping into the middle stage of the Earth realm. If he wanted to, Qin Chen could break through his cultivation at any time. But he didn't do that. Instead, he circulated the 9-star God Emperor art over and over again, compressing the true energy in his body to the extreme, constantly converging it into the 12 meridians, filling his chi pool. Reborn. What Qin Chen wants is not just to become the 9 heavens martial emperor, but to reach an unprecedented height. At this time, in Qin Feng's tent, I didn't expect that there would be so many troops stationed outside this blood spirit pool. It seems that killing Qin Chen is no small trouble. Qin Feng frowned slightly. He knew that the blood spirit pool was located in the depths of the monster ancestor mountain range. His original plan was to kill Qin Chen before entering the blood spirit pool, so that no one would know. Who knew that the place where they lived was actually a military camp? Here, There were soldiers walking around everywhere, and they were all in two-person dormitories, which also made it difficult for him to kill Qin Chen. But these were nothing. With his strength, it was not impossible to kill someone. But the most critical thing was that, in order to protect the safety of these geniuses, Lingwu King Xiaozan lived nearby. With Lingwu King Xiaozan's fourth order profound level peak cultivation, whatever he did, he was very likely to be discovered. It seems that if I want to kill that Qin Chen, I can only wait until later. With a flash in his eyes, Qin Feng shook his head. The top priority now is to adjust his state and use the power of the blood spirit pool to break through the third order heaven level in 3 days. At that time, he will have no scruples about what he does. For this blood spirit pool baptism, I have suppressed my cultivation for a long time. I hope this legendary blood spirit pool will not disappoint me. Breathing out a mouthful of turbid air, Qin Feng closed his eyes and rested in the camp tent. Night fell quickly. When Qin Chen opened his eyes, it was silent all around, and Wang Qiming was no longer in the room. After resting for half a day, Qin Chen felt refreshed and in a good mood. Meals are served in the central camp tent. You can go there at any time. Seeing Qin Chen walking out of the camp tent, a patrolling soldier reminded him. The geniuses here cultivate hard every day and night, so the meals in the military camp are supplied 24 hours a day. Qin Chen nodded and strode forward. In the dark night, a bright moon hung in the sky. In the distance, the mountains were steep and the shadows of the mountains were heavy, and the roars of blood beasts were constantly heard from time to time. Suddenly, Qin Chen heard bursts of whistling sounds from the distant mountains and forests. Huh! Someone is practicing the sword, and there is the sound of the sword. Qin Chen was stunned and came to the mountain forest following the sound. I saw a young man dancing with a battle knife under the moonlight. His figure stood upright like a flagpole. He held the battle knife by his side and drew the knife again and again. His moves were very simple, only drawing the knife and sheathing the knife. Each time the knife was drawn, the edge of the knife and the air would make a sharp whirring sound. It was Wang Qiming. Drawing and sheathing the knife is very boring. Anyone who practices it thousands of times will not be able to bear it. But this Wang Qiming had a firm expression on his face, drawing the knife again and again without the slightest impatience, concentrating his energy and spirit to the extreme every time he drew the knife. If you practice like this, you may not be able to comprehend the sword intent even if you practice for another year. Qin Chen suddenly shook his head. Who? The young man woke up in shock and turned his head suddenly. His eyes were like sharp blades, shooting out a cold light. His figure shook and he came in front of Qin Chen. A terrifying sword momentum radiated from his body, like an unsheathed treasure sword, ready to be slashed down at any time. You, Qin Chen. Seeing that it was Qin Chen, Wang Qiming frowned. What are you doing here? Also, do you understand the sword too? Wang Qiming knew very well that Qin Chen's strongest point was his swordsmanship and boxing skills. Could it be that he also had research on the sword? It is already remarkable for a martial artist to practice one direction to the extreme. How could it be possible to have such terrifying attainments in other aspects? I know a little, Qin Chen said lightly. Your current understanding of sword intent only floats on the surface. The move you used to defeat Zhong Qiang before should only be the prototype of sword intent. It is still far from the real sword intent. If I guessed correctly, you should have been constantly capturing this prototype of sword intent just now, trying to comprehend sword intent from it. But unfortunately, if this continues, your understanding of sword intent will go astray. Nonsense. Wang Qiming's eyes were displeased. He originally had a good impression of Qin Chen, but now he became dissatisfied when he heard Qin Chen's words. He is a swordsman. Does he know what a sword is? It's ridiculous. If you don't have anything else, you can leave now. With a wave of his hand, Wang Qiming directly saw him off. His impression of Qin Chen had plummeted to freezing point. He was just the champion of the Tianxing Academy. Although he had lost in the past, he was still ranked 4th. The gap between them was not that big. After these days of hard work, his cultivation had improved by leaps and bounds. If they really fought, it was hard to say who would win. Yet he came here acting profound and instructing him in cultivation. Who did he think he was? You may not believe me, but I just don't want to see a born swordsman go astray due to random cultivation, even to the point of having his meridians severed and becoming a cripple. Qin Chen said. What nonsense are you talking about? If you don't explain clearly, don't blame me for being impolite. Wang Qiming pointed at Qin Chen, his eyes icy. Instructing him was one thing, he could just ignore it, but now he was even cursing him, which was too much. Being pointed at by Wang Qiming's blade, Qin Chen's expression remained unchanged. He looked at the other party's hands and said calmly, recently, when you cultivate, do you often feel soreness and numbness in the Xiaoyang and Xiaoshang acupoints of your hands? Especially recently, starting at midnight, they begin to ache faintly, just like now. His face stiffened, his eyes widened, and Wang Qiming revealed a look of shock. You? How do you know? His hands trembled in disbelief. Xiaoshang and Xiaoyang are located on the fingers. You must think that you are practicing the quick draw technique too much, and your fingers are tired, which causes the pain. So, whenever you feel pain, you take pain-relieving pills to stop the pain. However, these pain-relieving pills were useful at first, but later they lost their effect. So, every day you apply Ditda oil to your fingers, but it still doesn't work much. On the contrary, the area where you apply the oil not only hurts, but even starts to go numb. Wang Qiming stared at Qin Chen, his face full of shock, as if he had seen a ghost. Just as Qin Chen said, his fingers had indeed started to ache faintly recently. At first, it was useful for him to take pain-relieving pills, but later, the pain-relieving pills also lost their effect. He also applied some external Ditda oil. Although the pain was reduced, it started to go numb. He had never told anyone about this, but he didn't expect Qin Chen to reveal it in one sentence. How on earth did you know? Wang Qiming asked in disbelief. It doesn't matter how I know. I only know that if you don't pay attention to it, let alone comprehending the sword intent, even your hands will be useless in the future, and you will never be able to hold the battle blade you dream of. Alarmist talk. Wang Qiming shouted coldly, what exactly do you want to do? You still don't believe me. If you don't believe me, you can press the Haozhui and Tianjing acupoints on your arm, and you will know if what I said is true. Wang Qiming frowned, but he couldn't help but press them. Hiss. He gasped. Cold sweat instantly appeared on his forehead. Wang Qiming convulsed, his face pale, and he almost fell to the ground. How could this be? The pain was so intense that even this iron-blooded man couldn't bear it, as if his entire arm didn't belong to him. Haozhui and Tianjing are located on the Sanjiao meridian of the Xiaoyang. That is to say, your problem has now spread to the Sanjiao meridian of the Xiaoyang. If you don't treat it, I'm afraid it will be dangerous. Forget it. Since you don't believe me, I won't say anything more. Shaking his head, he turned to leave. Wait a minute. Wang Qiming couldn't help but speak. His body trembled, his eyes were strange. What he said was so correct. Every word of Qin Chen clearly stated the symptoms of his body. At first, he was a little suspicious, but at this moment, he no longer had any doubts. You believe me. Stopping, Qin Chen turned his head. Please advise me, young Master Chen, what exactly is wrong with my body? The inexplicable and strange pain, could it be true as Qin Chen said, it was because of a problem with his body? If this was the case, then his pursuit. You should be practicing the Lonely Peak sword technique, right? The Lonely Peak sword technique emphasizes going one's own way, like a lonely peak standing tall. In fact, this sword technique is very good in itself, but it is a bit unsuitable for you. Why is that? Wang Qiming couldn't help but ask. Could it be that his problem was due to the sword technique? But he had practiced the Lonely Peak sword technique for many years, and there had never been any problems. Why was there a problem suddenly? I can see that you cultivate very hard. You practice the sword for at least 10 hours a day. Moreover, in order to improve your actual combat ability, you often go out to fight with blood beasts, and your body is covered in scars. Am I wrong? Qin Chen said. Wang Qiming nodded. He had said these things during the year-end exam, so it was not surprising that Qin Chen knew. There wouldn't be any problem with such cultivation in itself, but there is a problem because you are just a commoner. Why is there a problem with being a commoner? Wang Qiming didn't understand. What did hard cultivation have to do with his identity? Because you are a commoner, you don't have enough elixirs to take. Every time you are injured, the damage is repeated before it is completely healed. This also leads to the existence of many hidden injuries in your body. These hidden injuries are very small and generally don't have any impact, but the accumulation over the years can bring a serious burden to your body. And what you are practicing is the Lonely Peak Sword Technique. The Lonely Peak Sword Technique emphasizes going one's own way. Every time you draw your sword, you must use all your strength. Exerting all your strength to draw your sword will cause true chi to impact your meridians, and it will also cause damage to your muscles. The most important thing is the rudimentary form of sword intent that you have recently comprehended. Wang Qiming's expression froze. What did this have to do with the rudimentary form of sword intent? Sword intent is actually a swordsman's understanding of swordsmanship. It is not absolute. Therefore, there are various different sword intents in this world, because everyone's understanding of swordsmanship is different, and their understanding of nature is different, so the sword intents they comprehend are different. Your rudimentary form of sword intent was comprehended after you were injured by Qin Feng. That's because you had anger in your heart, an impulse, which made you comprehend the rudimentary form of sword intent. However, this rudimentary form of sword intent contains your anger, and anger will aggravate the injuries on your body. Moreover, you are also going astray by trying to find the true sword intent from this angry rudimentary form of sword intent. After Qin Chen finished speaking, he remained silent and quietly looked at Wang Qiming. Wang Qiming's heart was extremely shocked, like a surging wave. Because just as Qin Chen said, the reason why he comprehended the rudimentary form of sword intent earlier was because he was injured by Qin Feng in the palace. Under the pressure of his aura, he suddenly comprehended it in anger. Even Lingwu King Xiaozan hadn't been able to see these things, but Qin Chen saw through them at a glance. How many secrets does this person still have? Is there still a cure? Wang Qiming asked, his face filled with anxiety. There is, but, please, young Master Chen, save me. Thump. Asterisk. Kneeling down on both knees, Wang Qiming's expression was resolute. What are you doing? Qin Chen was stunned. He hadn't expected Wang Qiming, such a big man, to kneel so readily. I don't want to become a cripple. I want to become stronger, a truly top-tier swordsman. Wang Qiming's eyes were firm, his gaze like that of a proud eagle, wanting to soar through the heavens. The determination within him somewhat shocked Qin Chen. Get up. Now that I've said it, I naturally won't ignore you, Qin Chen said. Thank you, young Master Chen. Standing up, Wang Qiming was visibly excited. Taking out a box of gold needles from his person, Qin Chen said in a low voice, "Don't move." As soon as the words fell, swish, swish, swish. Asterisk. Several sounds of air being pierced rang out as several gold needles shot out from Qin Chen's hand. Before Wang Qiming could react, the needles had already pierced his arm, and a sensation of numbness and tingling immediately followed. Wang Qiming was startled, his pupils constricted. Too fast. Qin Chen's needles were almost instantaneously thrust out, so fast that he didn't even have time to react before they pierced his body. Fortunately, these were just gold needles. If it were hidden weapons, he wouldn't have been able to dodge at all. All right, Qin Chen said calmly, putting away the wooden box. All right. Wang Qiming was dumbfounded. It was over so quickly. And he didn't feel anything at all. Just as he was about to speak, a cool sensation suddenly came from the spot where the gold needles had pierced him after the tingling numbness. This coolness instantly spread throughout his body, causing him to groan involuntarily. In an instant, his entire arm felt like it had been reborn. As if he was reborn. Whoosh. Asterisk. Drawing his blade, he slashed out. The speed was at least 20% faster than before. Moreover, there was no pain, soreness, or numbness in his fingers. Too incredible. Staring wide-eyed at his hands, Wang Qiming was filled with disbelief. The injury that had plagued him for so long was actually healed so easily. The injury on your body hasn't actually completely healed. I've only cleared all the blocked and damaged meridians in your body, allowing your true energy to flow to every branch of the meridian. Normally, you would still need to take medicinal pills to recuperate for a few days before you can fully recover, Qin Chen said. However, in 2 days, it will be the day to enter the blood spirit pool. Since the blood spirit pool can enhance physical strength and change a martial artist's talent, then naturally it can also heal the remaining injuries on your body. Wang Qiming was incredibly excited. He cupped his hands together and said, "Thank you, young Master Chen. In the future, if young Master Chen has any instructions, just say the word. If I, Wang Qiming, hesitate in the slightest, may I be struck by 5 thunderbolts and die a horrible death." Shaking his head, Qin Chen said, "I just don't want to see a swordsmanship genius go astray. Show me your swordsmanship again." "Yes," Wang Qiming said. Without hesitation, Wang Qiming instantly displayed his swordsmanship. All around him, the light of the blade swirled, and a lonely, indifferent artistic concept arose spontaneously. After his arm recovered, Wang Qiming felt refreshed. Each strike of his blade was cold and fierce, and its power was at least half stronger than when he fought Zong Qiang before. "Young Master Chen, please advise," Wang Qiming said, cupping his hands after finishing a set of sword techniques, no longer daring to underestimate Qin Chen. "Your Lonely Peak swordsmanship has indeed been cultivated to the extreme. It's just a pity that turning back from the peak is the shore, and a new life awaits after the darkest hour. Your swordsmanship only has the sentiment of a lonely peak, but no intention of rebirth," Qin Chen said. "Intention of rebirth?" Qin Chen smiled gently, broke off a branch from a nearby tree, and suddenly transformed it into a majestic halo. The halo layered upon layer, transforming into a lonely peak, majestic and towering, yet full of vitality. Because the environment you are in has led to only loneliness in your heart. However, there is vitality everywhere in this world. There is no path that is truly a dead end. As long as you have hope in your heart, you will definitely be able to see the light. Watch carefully, this is my Lonely Peak swordsmanship. See how much you can comprehend depends on your fortune, Qin Chen said. This move of his Lonely Peak swordsmanship suddenly created a solitary mountain peak, standing proudly. In the darkness, it was like a primordial beast, slowly awakening. The majestic aura was like a peak from beyond the heavens. Qin Chen's gaze was sharp, and an indescribable aura swept over him, as if the entire world was in a repressed environment. But suddenly, a feeling of dawn breaking arose, and within that loneliness, there was a light called hope. Wang Qiming was instantly stunned, looking incredulously at Qin Chen's all-encompassing swordsmanship, his eyes inexplicably moist. Lonely Peak swordsmanship, this is the real Lonely Peak swordsmanship. There is no path in this world that is truly a dead end. Wang Qiming murmured to himself, suddenly feeling an urge to cry, and tears flowed uncontrollably from the corners of his eyes. That's right. He was born a commoner and suffered hardships since childhood, but didn't he join the Great Qi Kingdom's top-tier Heavenly Star Academy through his own efforts? In the academy, he was ridiculed and looked down upon, but he took each step, enduring hardships. When others were cultivating, he was cultivating. When others were playing, he was still cultivating. Even when others were sleeping, he was still cultivating. In the end, he became fourth in the Heavenly Star Academy's year-end examination, the focus of everyone's attention. Doesn't all of this show that there is no real desperate situation in this world? Everything depends on whether you have the heart to break through the desperate situation. As long as you work hard and endure hardship, even if it is a dead end, you can find a way out. Boom. Asterisk. At this moment, it was as if some kind of shackle in Wang Qiming's heart had been broken, and a transparent and clear feeling spread throughout his body. Buzz. Asterisk. He drew his blade again, and a fierce sword, intense sword from his body. Drawing and sheathing his blade, crack asterisk, several large trees in front of him were all cut off, split in the middle, and collapsed with a rumble. Is this the intent of the sword? Holding the battle blade, Wang Qiming's mind was at peace, as if he had been reborn. You have comprehended it, Qin Chen said with a smile, looking at Wang Qiming, who seemed to have undergone a transformation. This Wang Qiming is worthy of being a sword fanatic. He was able to comprehend the true meaning of sword intent so quickly. Although it is only elementary sword intent at the moment, from now on, his future will be completely different. Thank you for your guidance, young Master Chen, Wang Qiming said, his heart filled with excitement, knowing that today's breakthrough was all because of Qin Chen. At this moment, he understood how great the gap between himself and Qin Chen was. Both being members of the Qin family, the difference between young Master Chen and Qin Feng is too great. One is in the sky, and the other is on the ground. I heard that Qin Feng has always wanted to harm young Master Chen. As long as I, Wang Qiming, am here, I will never allow him to do anything to harm young Master Chen. Secretly making up his mind, Wang Qiming silently gritted his teeth. Qin Chen naturally didn't know what Wang Qiming was thinking. He just didn't want to see a genius swordsman fall. If Wang Qiming was born in the martial domain, there would naturally be experts to guide him, but in this remote northwest region, without a famous teacher, it is really not easy to grow up. After treating Wang Qiming, Qin Chen didn't linger. He went to the camp to eat something, then returned to his tent to rest. The next morning, Qin Chen was awakened by the sound of assembly. Stepping out of his tent, he saw the various geniuses of the Great Qi Kingdom gathering together. I heard that several genius disciples from the Great Qi Kingdom arrived yesterday. I'm quite curious to see which distorted melons and cracked dates the Great Qi Kingdom has sent into the blood spirit pool this time. And a discordant voice rang out. From another direction in the Great Qi Kingdom's camp, several young martial artists suddenly walked over. One of them, a rather handsome martial artist, looked at Qin Feng and the others, a mocking smile on his face. Jiang Zheng, with his extremely irritable temper, was very annoyed and said in a deep voice, "What do you mean?" The handsome man sneered, "Great Wei Kingdom, Luo Jingshan. I don't mean anything in particular, just wanted to see what kind of geniuses you Great Qi Kingdom have sent. Will they be like the previous batch, not even enough for my Great Wei Kingdom to kill?" "What did you say?" Jiang Zheng and the others looked angry and surrounded him. Luo Jingshan appeared very calm, with a smile on his face. "Is Luo wrong? In the last 5 Nations tournament, many of your Great Qi Kingdom disciples were killed by our Great Wei Kingdom as soon as they entered. Later on, many people simply gave up and admitted defeat. Too cowardly. I wonder if there will be any brave guys this time, ha ha ha. Ha ha, the Great Qi Kingdom is just a bunch of cowards. TSK, these distorted melons and cracked dates actually want to participate in the 5 Nations tournament. They're simply not enough to fill the gaps between our Great Wei Kingdom's teeth. I, Wu, alone can defeat 10 of them." A group of Great Wei Kingdom disciples laughed strangely. "Damn it, dare to say that again. Believe it or not, I'll be rude to you." Jiang Zheng and the others were furious and surrounded him. "You want to use numbers against me? Go ahead. Anyway, your Great Qi Kingdom can only rely on numbers. Damn it, to deal with you, there's no need for so many people. I, Jiang Zheng, alone am enough to defeat you. Is that so? If you can take one move from me, I'll take back what I just said," Luo Jingshan said with a faint smile. "One move. Damn it, you underestimate me too much." Jiang Zheng roared, his body's energy rising to the extreme, and he threw a punch. Savage King Overlord Fist. Boom. The towering fist wind swept out. Child's play. Luo Jingshan smiled, seemingly unconcerned about the opponent's attack. Just as Jiang Zheng's fist was about to hit him, he slapped out a palm. Bang! This palm struck first, hitting Jiang Zheng's chest in an instant. PFFT. A mouthful of blood spurted out, and Jiang Zheng flew backward, falling heavily to the ground. A blood-red palm print appeared on his chest, with wisps of heat rising, as if he had been scalded. What? Everyone was shocked. Jiang Zheng was defeated in one move. Ha ha ha. Is this the genius of your Great Qi Kingdom? Too weak. Right. So weak it can't withstand the wind. Luo Jingshan laughed loudly. The other martial artists of the Great Wei Kingdom, seeing Luo Jingshan defeat Jiang Zheng in one move, also laughed, their eyes full of mockery. The martial artists of the Great Wei Kingdom are causing trouble in my Great Qi Kingdom's camp. Are you seeking death? At this time, a furious shout came, and General Yan Huai stepped forward with a cold expression, his body radiating terrifying killing intent, like heavy waves sweeping out. General Yan Huai, we just came to see the genius disciples of the Great Qi Kingdom. Just now, this one wanted to challenge us, but he couldn't even take one move from me. It's not like we came to cause trouble, Luo Jingshan said with a smile. Yes. Although there are conflicts between your Great Qi Kingdom and my Great Wei Kingdom, it shouldn't be to the point where a general takes revenge for a genius who was beaten, right? Are the genius martial artists of the Great Qi Kingdom all cowards? Many disciples of the Great Wei Kingdom mocked, seeking death. Yan Huai's face darkened, and he grabbed at Luo Jingshan with a claw. The palm wind was fierce, intending to grab Luo Jingshan like a chick. As a general stationed at the blood spirit pool, Yan Huai's cultivation was extremely strong, at the late stage of the heaven realm. Under this claw, Luo Jingshan felt a force enveloping him, and his body couldn't move. Bang! Suddenly, a palm stretched out from the void, blocking Yan Huai's palm. Step, step, step. The two retreated a few steps at the same time, their faces flushed. Gu King. Yan Huai narrowed his eyes. The person who came was General Gu King, stationed in the Great Wei Kingdom. Yan Huai, it's too outrageous for you to interfere when juniors are fighting, Gu King said in a gaunt, sinister voice, with a hooked nose. Yan Huai frowned. The Great Qi Kingdom and the Great Wei Kingdom were stationed here together, and they had always kept to themselves. What were they suddenly doing here today? Luo Jingshan smiled. It seems that the Great Qi Kingdom really doesn't have any experts this time. This Jiang Zheng should be the strongest, right? But he's just so-so. It's simply a waste for someone like him to enter the blood spirit pool. HMPH, what are you being so arrogant about? My Great Qi Kingdom has plenty of experts. It won't be his turn to enter the blood spirit pool. Jiang Zheng wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and shouted angrily. Oh, then bring 'em out for us to see. Why are all we seeing now just distorted melons and cracked dates? There's not even one that's pleasing to the eye. Luo Jingshan sneered. The other disciples of the Great Wei Kingdom also laughed. The Great Qi Kingdom even got 2 of the top 10 spots in the last tournament. It seems like they won't get any this year. With young Lord Luo Jingshan's strength, he's enough to sweep everyone in the Great Qi Kingdom. It seems that it won't be long before the Great Qi Kingdom is annexed by my Great Wei Kingdom, ha ha ha. All of you will become slaves of my Great Wei Kingdom. A group of Great Wei Kingdom disciples looked arrogant, their words full of disdain. Is this all the Great Wei Kingdom is capable of? No wonder it's called a land of barbarians. At this time, the 4th prince walked out of the camp and said in a cold voice. Your Highness the 4th prince. Everyone saluted. 4th prince. Among the geniuses sent by the Great Qi Kingdom this year, there's actually a prince. Luo Jingshan's eyes lit up as he looked over. The other geniuses of the Great Wei Kingdom also stared over. At this time, Zhao Lingshan, Princess Sixyun, Li Qingfeng, and the others were also alarmed by the commotion and walked out of the camp. The aura of this group of people was obviously different from that of the other martial artists, and they immediately attracted the attention of the Great Wei Kingdom's genius martial artists. Greetings, Princess Sixyun, County Princess Lingshan. Many people saluted. Princess, County Princess. The eyes of the Great Wei Kingdom's disciples lit up, their eyes sweeping back and forth over the two of them. Especially after seeing their faces, almost everyone's eyes shone. Ha ha ha. This time the Great Qi Kingdom actually sent a princess and a county princess. Do they think this is a picnic? No wonder the Great Wei Kingdom has been getting worse every year. TSK. Looking at these two, their figures and appearances are both top-notch. It seems that we're in luck this time. Many disciples of the Great Wei Kingdom laughed strangely, their eyes revealing obscene expressions. Presumptuous. Audacious. Too arrogant. Do they think there's no one in my Great Qi Kingdom? Causing trouble in my Great Qi Kingdom's camp, that's too much. Everyone's expression changed, and they were furious. Zhao Lingshan and Princess Sixyun were both among the 4 great beauties of the Great Qi Kingdom's capital, goddesses in the hearts of countless martial arts geniuses. Now, the disciples of the Great Wei Kingdom actually dared to slander the goddesses in front of them, and they were all enraged. In an instant, everyone glared fiercely, releasing terrifying auras, ready to step forward and attack. You people from the Great Wei Kingdom are causing trouble in my Great Qi Kingdom, isn't that going too far? Even the 4th prince, with his usually good demeanor, couldn't help but be angered at this moment, his eyes narrowed. Luo Jingshan smiled faintly. That's not quite right. We came here only to visit the geniuses of the Great Qi Kingdom, wanting to see just how their cultivation is. How can you say we're causing trouble? I heard that your highness is the fourth prince of the Great Qi Kingdom, surely your cultivation is extraordinary. I wonder if the fourth prince could offer some guidance. You think you're worthy to challenge the fourth prince? You think too highly of yourself. Who do you think you are? Laughable. A group of Great Qi Kingdom genius disciples were furious. If the fourth prince really stepped forward to fight, that would be a disgrace. Your highness fourth prince, ignore him. Yan Huai also paled beside him. If something happened to the fourth prince here, his responsibility would be immense. He would definitely be punished by his majesty. After all, the fourth prince's status was different from other students. General Gu, king of the Great Wei Kingdom, couldn't help but sneer. Yan Huai, you even want to stop the juniors' own sparring. Are you afraid that your Great Qi Kingdom's prince will be defeated by our Great Wei Kingdom's genius in one move? Ha ha. That's right. A dignified fourth prince wouldn't lack the courage to accept a challenge, would he? Luo Jingshan also sneered. HMPH. Who said I wouldn't dare accept? The fourth prince's expression darkened as he walked forward. Fourth brother. Your highness fourth prince. The crowd exclaimed. The fourth prince's status is noble, how could he lower himself to the level of this fellow? Let me fight. Yes. I'll fight. I'll meet this so-called genius of the Great Wei Kingdom. This guy is so arrogant, I don't believe there's no one in my Great Qi Kingdom who can subdue him. The crowd was angry, each one filled with righteous indignation. Yan Huai wanted to step forward and stop him again. The fourth prince stopped him. General Yan Huai, there's no need to say more. They've already come to our doorstep. If I refuse, wouldn't I be looked down upon by them? His face gloomy, the fourth prince stepped forward. Ha ha. The fourth prince is indeed heroic. Luo admires you. Luo Jingshan laughed, but there wasn't much respect in his laughter, only mockery. At this time, outside the Great Qi Kingdom's military camp, several handsome men and beautiful women, accompanied by a thin old man with white hair and beard, stood there quietly. Because they were in the back of the crowd, further away, the others hadn't noticed them. The Great Qi Kingdom's fourth prince really can't withstand provocation, he went on stage so easily, a young man holding an iron fan said with a faint smile. Your Highness third prince, the Great Qi Kingdom's fourth prince, Zhao Wei, is said to be the most outstanding genius in the Great Qi Kingdom. It seems that this time's blood spirit pool slot will definitely have him. It's good to see what abilities this legendary genius of the Great Qi Kingdom has, so that your highness can also prepare. A young man in a green robe with an evil face laughed. What abilities could he have? It's just exaggeration. How can he compare with his highness Cao Heng of my Great Wei Kingdom? Just watch. Luo Jingshan can defeat this fourth prince. His highness Cao Heng doesn't need to care at all. A charming woman wearing tight purple clothes, with a fiery figure that made blood rush, smiled enchantingly. Her waist was slender, she leaned on the third prince Cao Heng, exuding a seductive aura. She was simply a treasure of the world. If I'm not mistaken, the few people who came out with Zhao Wei just now are probably the geniuses of the Great Qi Kingdom who will enter the blood spirit pool this time, right? There are even a few teenagers. Cao Heng, is this the genius of the Great Qi Kingdom that you wanted to find out about? Too weak. A young man standing beside Cao Heng shook his head. His face was pale, his eyes were strange, making people shudder. Judging from his standing position, his status seemed to be no less than that of the third prince of the Great Wei Kingdom, Cao Heng. He looked indifferent, looking at the Great Qi Kingdom's geniuses, with a look of disdain. That kind of disdain was deeply rooted in his bones, like a dragon overlooking ants, completely not taking him seriously. Young Master Nyan, I've inquired about it. These few should be the graduates of the Great Qi Kingdom's first academy, Tianxing Academy. I'm afraid they are only 15 or 16 years old. How can such guys have any performance in the Five Nations competition? I don't know what the Great Qi Kingdom's Emperor Zhao Gao is thinking, he must be senile. Cao Heng also laughed. The martial artists of the Great Qi Kingdom are indeed very weak. Even if they are geniuses who enter the blood spirit pool, I'm afraid there won't be many who can be Luo Jingshan's opponents. Everyone thought so. Among so many people present, there were almost none who could catch their eye. Luo Jingshan, you injured my great Qi kingdom's martial artists. I'll give you two choices now. 1. Apologize and obediently compensate for the losses. The other, I'll fight back, but at that time, it won't be so simple. At this time, the fourth prince stared at Luo Jingshan and said coldly. Around the two, everyone retreated, leaving a space. Hearing this, all the geniuses of the Great Wei Kingdom laughed. Luo Jingshan was also stunned for a moment. The purpose of his attack was to draw out experts like the fourth prince. The other party actually wanted him to apologize, too naive. Your Highness Fourth Prince, if you can defeat me and make me apologize, that's not impossible, but you may not be my opponent. You still want me to apologize. How can the strong apologize to the weak? That's right. How can the strong apologize to the weak? In this world, there is only the principle of the weak apologizing to the strong. The geniuses of the Great Wei Kingdom clamored. The fourth prince stared coldly at Luo Jingshan and said, all right, since you insist on fighting, I will fulfill you, but if you lose, don't think it will be so easy to settle. You must kneel down and apologize to our great Qi kingdom's geniuses, and compensate for the losses. Ha ha, good. Defeat me. Let alone let me compensate for the losses. What if you take all the things on my body? It's a pity, you can't win against me at all. As soon as he finished speaking, Luo Jingshan suddenly moved. He put his hands together, and with a boom, a scorching heat wave rose from his body, and his entire arm instantly turned red. Above his palm, smoke billowed, and the air was distorted by the burning, and a strong high temperature permeated. Molten flame whirled. With a grin, Luo Jingshan pounced towards the fourth prince. The cultivation technique he practiced was the Xuan grade low-level molten flame skill, and he had cultivated it to the peak, which was by no means something ordinary martial artists could resist. In an instant, the temperature of the entire camp instantly increased by several degrees. It's the molten flame skill. Luo Jingshan actually used the strongest move of the molten flame skill right away. He thinks too highly of the fourth prince of Great Qi. That's right. There's no need to use such a strong martial skill to deal with him. The geniuses of Great Wei spoke one after another. They all knew how strong Luo Jingshan's molten flame skill was. When they were in Great Wei, even martial artists at the late peak of the Earth realm had been killed by him. On the Great Qi side, many geniuses felt the power contained within, and their expressions became solemn. Just as Luo Jingshan's palms were about to strike Zhao Wei, the fourth prince Zhao Wei suddenly moved. His figure flickered, and he dodged Luo Jingshan's attack, arriving at Luo Jingshan's side. So fast. Everyone was shocked. The fourth prince's speed was too fast. Arriving next to Luo Jingshan, the fourth prince directly struck out with a palm. At the edge of the palm wind, the force of the wind howled sharply, as if it had been cut open. If this palm struck, even a rock as tall as a person would be cut in half. Luo Jingshan was shocked, but his eyes did not show panic. He revealed a ferocious look and said grimly, "You want to avoid me? No way." Molten flame bloodline, explode. Boom. A crimson light bloomed from his body, as if a volcano erupted. Scorching energy swept everywhere, instantly enveloping the fourth prince Zhao Wei, and his figure disappeared. Not good. Everyone was shocked. Had His Highness the fourth prince been hit? HMPH. Break. Amidst the shock, a cold snort was heard, and the scorching flames instantly separated. The fourth prince's figure appeared, a smile on his lips, and he struck Luo Jingshan with a palm. PFFT. A wound nearly a foot long was cut into his chest, and Luo Jingshan retreated violently, spitting out blood. Whoosh. His Highness the fourth prince flickered and stepped forward again. Block him for me. The composure on Luo Jingshan's face was gone, replaced only by shock. He roared, his palms transforming into heavy waves of flame, to stop Zhao Wei's attack. Zhao Wei sneered, his right hand suddenly accelerating, instantly piercing through Luo Jingshan's palm defenses, and slapping him in the face. Slap. Luo Jingshan's face was filled with shame and anger. He was slapped away, heavily falling to the ground, spitting out 7 or 8 teeth. A palm print appeared on his cheek, and half of his face quickly swelled up. The smiles on the faces of all the geniuses of Great Wei instantly froze. They were all horrified and couldn't believe their eyes. Their mouths were wide open, big enough to fit an egg. What's going on? Wasn't Luo Jingshan supposed to display his divine power and make the fourth prince of Great Qi kneel and beg for mercy? How did Luo Jingshan lose in the blink of an eye? The crowd didn't even have time to see how Luo Jingshan lost. The fourth prince's strength is too strong. It's simply crushing, without any effort at all. Indeed, he's not weak. Even Qin Chen's eyes narrowed. Although the fourth prince's cultivation was only at the late peak of the Earth realm, his speed and strength surpassed those of martial artists at the late stage of the Earth realm. Even a strong person at the early stage of the Heaven realm wouldn't dare to say they could win steadily. It's laughable how Luo Jingshan was showing off just now. Luo Jingshan, it's time to fulfill your promise. Luo Jingshan covered half of his face, his eyes filled with disbelief. Even now, he was still a little confused and didn't know how he lost. Kneel down and apologize. With a cold shout, the fourth prince sneered, his eyes icy. Yes. Who was it who said just now that if they lost, they would kneel down and admit their mistake? Some people's words, they wouldn't have forgotten them so quickly, right? Gamble and accept your loss. Great way, you wouldn't all be a bunch of people who don't keep their word, would you? The geniuses of Great Qi, who had been suppressed before, all breathed a sigh of relief and laughed one after another. It's so satisfying, it's really satisfying. Stepping forward 2 steps, Jiang Zheng, who had recovered somewhat, shouted coldly, "Why aren't you kneeling down and apologizing?" Luo Jingshan's eyes stagnated, and he didn't dare to speak. Letting him pay compensation is no problem, but letting him kneel down and apologize is impossible. If he did that, he would lose all the face of Great Wei. How would he face people in Great Wei in the future? You won't apologize. You were so arrogant just now, could it be that you're chickening out now? Jiang Zheng's expression was indifferent, and he stepped on Luo Jingshan's back. Do you want us to do it ourselves? Stop. Gu King couldn't stand it any longer, his face gloomy. He took a step forward and was about to attack. Gu King, matters between juniors, it's better for us generals not to interfere, right? Energy swept across, Yan Huai sneered and stopped Gu King. Yan Huai, you think you can stop me with just you? Gu King's expression was gloomy, and his entire body was filled with true energy, a storm surging out, sweeping over everyone. Stomp, stomp, stomp. Many great Qi martial artists retreated one after another, their faces pale. Only Qin Chen and a few others remained still, unaffected. Coming to my Great Qi camp to cause trouble, if you win, you'll show off your power, if you lose, you want to renege, there's no such easy thing. Suddenly, a cold voice sounded, accompanied by a terrifying force of oppression, instantly dispersing the aura released by Gu King. Under this force of oppression, Gu King, who had been strong before, was like a small boat on the sea, without any power to resist. Lord Lingwu King, Lord Xiao Zhan. Seeing the person who came, everyone respectfully saluted, their expressions excited. Lingwu King Xiao Zhan is the god of war of Great Qi, an idol and spiritual leader in the hearts of every Great Qi martial artist. Xiao Zhan. Gu King's pupils shrank, and his originally arrogant aura instantly withered, as if a mouse had seen a cat. Great Wei and Great Qi have been at war for many years, and Gu King naturally knew Xiao Zhan's terror. Killing him would definitely be effortless. Xiao Zhan, do you want to start a war between Great Qi and Great Wei? Gu King shouted sternly. Just you. Xiao Zhan glanced at him indifferently, as if he didn't see him at all. That kind of disregard made people feel more angry and humiliated than ridicule. So what if the two countries go to war? Killing you is just a matter of minutes. Speaking indifferently, Xiao Zhan came directly to Luo Jingshan's front. Kneel down and apologize, I'll give you a way out, otherwise, you know the consequences. His tone was calm, without any threatening words, but the defense in Luo Jingshan's heart instantly collapsed. Thump. Kneeling on the ground, Luo Jingshan's face was pale, and he said in horror, I'm sorry. At this moment, he even had the heart to cry. He didn't expect that coming up to provoke would actually attract Great Qi's Lingwu King Xiao Zhan. If someone like that killed him, he would have nowhere to reason. Even General Gu King wouldn't care about confronting him. Dare to come to my great Qi camp to provoke again, and you will be killed without pardon. Get lost. Coldly sweeping over all the great Wei martial artists, everyone who was seen by him lowered their heads, not daring to look directly. Let's go. Gu King gritted his teeth and led the many great Wei martial artists to turn around and leave. Wait a minute. Jiang Zheng called out to Luo Jingshan, who was fleeing in a panic, and directly stripped off all the things on his body, sneering, "Don't forget the compensation we agreed on just now." Then, he kicked him in the butt, kicking him out, laughing loudly. Cool. So satisfying. Jiang Zheng had been holding a bellyful of fire ever since Luo Jingshan defeated him, but he never thought that in the blink of an eye, His Highness the Fourth Prince would get revenge, and win so decisively. At this moment, Jiang Zheng was completely in awe of the Fourth Prince. Being able to join the blood spirit pool is indeed terrifying. If you want to discuss things, do it openly and honestly, standing there all sneaky, sending a few good-for-nothings over here, acting like petty people. And Xiao Zhan sneered towards a distant place. Everyone was stunned. What is Lord Xiao Zhan talking about? Concentrating the gaze, sure enough, hundreds of meters behind the crowd, there seemed to be a group of people standing, paying attention to this place from afar. It seems to be Prince Cao Heng and the others from the Great Wei Kingdom. And damn it, so they were the ones instigating from behind, but they didn't come forward themselves. And could it be that they want to test the strength of our Great Qi Kingdom's geniuses? And that must be it. What other reason could there be? And the Great Qi Kingdom's geniuses instantly exploded. Those who can stand out from the many martial artists and become geniuses are all smart people, and with a little thought, they instantly understood the whole story. Although the Great Wei Kingdom and the Great Qi Kingdom are enemies, they have been here for quite some time, but they have never seen the Great Wei Kingdom's martial artists come to provoke them. But yesterday, the Fourth Prince and the others had just arrived, and the Great Wei Kingdom's geniuses came to provoke them, the meaning of which is self-evident. They must want to test the strength of the Fourth Prince and the others. But if you want to test your strength, be more open and honest. Instead, you hide behind. It's really despicable. Far away, Nian Wuji and the others were seen through by Xiao Zhan, and upon hearing Xiao Zhan's ridicule, their expressions immediately sank. This Xiao Zhan is really arrogant. Does he think he is invincible? And taking a step forward, Nian Wuji couldn't help but step forward. Wuji, don't be reckless. And the old man with white hair and beard suddenly stepped forward. Elder Ling, why are you stopping me? And Nian Wuji frowned. Elder Ling didn't take it seriously, and said in a deep voice, Xiao Zhan is the #1 expert in the Great Qi Kingdom. His cultivation is at its peak. If you go up, you will easily suffer a loss. And could it be that Elder Ling, you are not his opponent either? And Nian Wuji was surprised. Shaking his head, Elder Ling said, it's still a bit lacking. In the sect, those who can compete with this person, apart from your father, the sect master, only 2 deputy sect masters can compete with him. As for the others, they may not be able to deal with him. And this person is so strong. And Nian Wuji was shocked, his eyes narrowed. Since this is the case, let's go. We will compete in the 5 Nations Grand Competition. And knowing the limits, Nian Wuji did not act rashly, and soon a group of people turned around and left. Lord Lingwu King, are we just going to let those guys go like this? And Yan Huai and the others were filled with righteous indignation. According to reason, since the other party came to provoke them like this, they should have left something behind. Don't cause trouble. And shaking his head, Xiao Zhan looked at the Fourth Prince and Qin Chen and the others. In this 5 Nations Grand Competition, in addition to being careful of the Great Wei Kingdom, you should also pay attention to the disciples of the Ghost Immortal sect. And Ghost Immortal sect. Everyone was puzzled. That's right. Nian Wuji of the Ghost Immortal sect was also standing with Cao Heng just now. This person is the son of Nian Shuo, the sect master of the Ghost Immortal sect. His cultivation is at its peak. It is said that he is a rare genius of the Ghost Immortal sect in 100 years. More importantly, the Ghost Immortal sect's methods are always ruthless and insidious. You must pay attention. And Xiao Zhan frowned. The Ghost Immortal sect is one of the extremely powerful top sects in the northwest. If the Great Wei Kingdom and it unite, the Great Qi Kingdom's situation will be extremely bad. In the next 2 days, all the martial artists of the Great Qi Kingdom felt heavy pressure, and each of them buried themselves in hard cultivation. 2 days passed in a flash, and finally the day came to go to the Blood Spirit Pool. You 8. Come with me. And Xiao Zhan came to the camp early in the morning and took Qin Chen and the others to a mysterious area deep in the valley. This is an underground world. The group passed through a long rocky passage and went deep all the way. They didn't know how long they had walked before finally arriving at a huge cave. In the cave, many young geniuses had already gathered. These geniuses all exuded a palpitating aura, and the weakest of them were at the peak of the mid-stage of the Earth realm. At this time, they were all standing quietly in the cave, looking at each other coldly, probing each other's strength. Because everyone knew that in the upcoming 5 Nations Grand Competition, these people present would be their most terrifying opponents. And these people are basically in their early 20s, and there are almost none under the age of 20. Therefore, when Qin Chen and the others appeared, they immediately attracted everyone's attention. Are these a few the geniuses of the Great Qi Kingdom? And so young, what the hell is this? And they didn't come here to make up the numbers, did they? And everyone was stunned, one by one dumbfounded. The contestants who enter the Blood Spirit Pool are often the core figures of the current 5 Nations Grand Competition, the main force in the competition for the top 10. Therefore, when arranging personnel, the major forces usually stick to the age limit of 24. After all, the older the age, the higher the cultivation, and the greater the probability of breaking into the top 10. But Qin Chen and the others were clearly only 15 or 16 years old, which had to be surprising. At such a young age, their cultivation must be very average. How can they get a good ranking in the 5 Nations Grand Competition? For a time, the entire cave was in an uproar. Does the dignified Great Qi Kingdom not even have 8 geniuses to find? And finding a few teenagers in their teens like this, wouldn't they be preparing to give up on this year's grand competition? And it's very possible, maybe this Great Qi Kingdom is cultivating geniuses for the next 5 Nations Grand Competition. With the age of these few teenagers, if they enter the Blood Spirit Pool this time, I'm afraid they will still be able to participate in the 5 Nations Grand Competition 5 years later. And everyone thought of a possibility. Simply ridiculous. And at this time, someone sneered. It was the enchanting woman from the Great Wei Kingdom. She had a smile on her lips, with a mean smile, and sneered. The Blood Spirit Pool, as everyone knows, the higher the cultivation, the stronger the body, the greater the benefits obtained. These few teenagers, their cultivation is only in the early stage of the Earth realm. Even if they enter the Blood Spirit Pool in advance now, they can't bear the horror of the Blood Spirit Pool, and can't absorb the energy of the Blood Spirit Pool, which is equivalent to a waste. The monarch of this Great Qi Kingdom, wouldn't his brain be kicked by a donkey? Giggle giggle. And she covered her mouth and chuckled, her body trembling, the 2 jade peaks on her chest trembling back and forth, attracting attention. Presumptuous. And Xiao Zhan was furious, and a terrifying aura pressed over. Step, step, step. The enchanting woman's face turned pale, her eyes were terrified, and she retreated again and again. Xiao Zhan, what are you doing? And with a low shout, a burly man walked out of the Great Wei Kingdom's crowd, his eyes gloomy, like an eagle. Boom. The aura on his body erupted, like an erupting volcano, sweeping out. Qi Cheng, you didn't expect you to come too. And Xiao Zhan's pupils shrank. Qi Cheng is the #1 expert in the Great Wei Kingdom. His cultivation is also at the peak of the 4th Order Profound Realm, ruthless and merciless, killing people like hemp, known as the Godslayer. If you can come, why can't I? Qi Cheng sneered, his eyes filled with coldness. Keep your people in check. If there's any more slanderous talk about His Majesty of my Great Qi, don't blame me for showing no mercy, Xiao Zhan coldly rebuked. Xiao Zhan, to yell at a female disciple, doesn't seem to fit the identity of the #1 expert of your Great Qi, does it? Could it be that the dignified #1 expert of Great Qi only knows how to bully a female disciple? A sinister voice sounded. It was Elder Ling Jung of the Ghost Immortal sect, who looked at Xiao Zhan with a strange smile. Ling Jung, what does the matter between my Great Qi and Great Wei have to do with your Ghost Immortal sect? When did the Ghost Immortal sect and Great Wei join forces? It seems your ambition is not small this time. I'm just standing up for what's right. Ling Jung's eyes narrowed, and he didn't continue speaking. Yu Qicheng on the side also had a gloomy look in his eyes, but he didn't say anything more, only gave a cold smile. But the killing intent in his eyes was undisguised. The people of Great Qi and Great Wei are fighting again. HMPH, have they fought any less these years? If it weren't for the agreement between the 5 nations, forbidding large-scale wars, the 2 countries would probably have already started fighting. Aren't they still fighting fiercely now? I heard that the soldiers who die on the border between Great Wei and Great Qi every year number in the tens of thousands. Hee, it seems there's a good show to watch. In the previous 5 nations tournament, the geniuses of Great Wei and Great Qi fought fiercely in the preliminary rounds, resulting in heavy casualties. This time, I'm afraid it won't be any better. Don't just talk about Great Qi and Great Wei. Are there fewer geniuses from other forces who have fallen? The Northwest is still superficially peaceful now, but the conflicts between the major forces in the dark are constant. It's not easy to have such an opportunity. They would be strange not to strike ruthlessly. Seeing this scene, the people from other forces present all secretly discussed it. Qin Chen frowned slightly. It seems that the Northwest 5 nations are superficially peaceful, but the conflicts in the dark are not few. All of you, remember the faces of the disciples of Great Wei and the Ghost Immortal sect clearly. If you encounter them in the preliminary rounds of the competition, you must be careful. Arriving at a corner, Xiao Zhan's expression was serious as he reminded Qin Chen and the others. Understood. Everyone nodded. Xiao Zhan's eyes were solemn. Seeing this, the Ghost Immortal sect and Great Wei were very likely to have really joined forces. If that was the case, then the geniuses on their side this time were probably going to be in danger. In the last 5 nations tournament, just Great Wei alone caused heavy losses to the genius disciples of Great Qi. If the Ghost Immortal sect was added, things would become even more serious. On the Great Wei side, Yu Qicheng said in a deep voice to his subordinates, "Everyone, remember this for me. If you encounter disciples of Great Qi in the preliminary rounds, don't show any mercy. If you kill a disciple of Great Qi, this old man will give an extra reward." Yes, please rest assured, Lord Tushan, the disciples of Great Wei revealed killing intent in their eyes. Yu Qicheng, don't worry, this time my Ghost Immortal sect will help you. As long as the disciples of Great Qi dare to participate in the competition, they will not escape death. Ling Jung smiled sinisterly, but don't forget the promise of your Great Wei. Rest assured, Great Wei will never go back on its word, Yu Qicheng grinned. The Northwest 5 nations are Great Qi, Great Wei, Great Liang, Great Song, and Great Zhao. Among them, Great Liang has the strongest overall national power, followed by Great Qi and Great Wei, and then Great Song and Great Zhao. In the last 5 nations tournament, Great Liang, Great Qi, and Great Wei each obtained 2 places in the top 10, Great Song and Great Zhao each had 1, and the remaining 2 were taken by the Ghost Immortal sect and the Lingtian sect. At this time, the geniuses of some other forces also arrived. Look, that's Li Mengbai of Great Zhao. He's only 21 years old this year, and he's already a late-stage peak Earth Realm martial artist. It's a pity he was born a little late. If it were 2 years earlier, he would probably be even more terrifying. It is said that Great Song has also produced 2 geniuses, who are not to be underestimated. The people from Lingtian sect are here. Hiss. The Lingtian sect was the last to appear. When the people from the Lingtian sect arrived, everyone's eyes widened, and they gasped, their eyes fixed, unblinking. Leading the group was a woman wearing a white gauze dress, with skin as smooth as jade, as white as jade, and with incomparable beauty. It's Yu Changxiu, the second daughter of the Lingtian sect master, a genius that is rare to see in 100 years in the Lingtian sect. It is said that this person's talent is even more terrifying than her older sister, Yu Jingzhu. She is only 18 years old this year, and she is already a late-stage Earth-realm genius. So beautiful. Everyone was shocked, their eyes shining. Even Qin Chen took another look. It must be said that this woman is not inferior to Princess Zixun and County Princess Lingshan at all, and even surpasses them. Especially the ethereal temperament on her body, like a celestial being descending to the mortal world, makes people unwilling to defile her. What is even more surprising is her age. She is the youngest one besides Qin Chen and the others. Moreover, in the Five Nations tournament 10 years ago, Yu Jingzhu of the Lingtian sect won the second place in that Five Nations tournament with amazing strength, and it is rumored that Yu Changxu's strength is even above her sister Yu Jingzhu. Alright. Everyone is here, so there's no need to waste time. Someone shouted in a low voice. It was a powerhouse from Great Liang, leading everyone towards the depths of the cave, continuing to walk out. Before long, everyone came to a huge cave. In that cave, there was an obscure and profound formation engraved. The cave was brightly lit with spirit fire, illuminating the entire formation to be brilliant and dazzling. Vaguely, an extremely terrifying power was transmitted from the formation, making people frightened. Everyone, in order to prevent the blood spirit pool from being destroyed, this place has been covered by a formation, and only people from the Five Nations, gathering the tokens, can open the formation. Xiao Zhan and the other Five Nation leaders looked at each other, and took out a jade token from their bodies, pressing it into the 5 slots on the stone wall. Suddenly, a strong force burst out in the entire cave, and the formation in front of them instantly opened, revealing 2 openings as tall as a person. The blood spirit pool is on the other side of that formation. All of you, enter the blood spirit pool. Men enter from the left, and women enter from the right. Once you enter, the formation gate will close. After you have absorbed the blood spirit pool, the formation will automatically expel you. Men and women are actually separated. Everyone was stunned. Seeing the doubts on everyone's faces, the powerhouse explained, in the blood spirit pool, martial artists must enter naked. Once wearing clothes, the body will be instantly corroded by the blood spirit pool. Therefore, this blood spirit pool has been divided into 2 areas. The areas where men and women enter are separated from each other, which also avoids trouble. Remember, you must not wear any clothes, otherwise, you will surely die, remember. The old man's expression was solemn, and he said in a deep voice. Everyone then realized, one by one surprised. This blood spirit pool actually requires naked entry. Could it be? Thinking of a possibility, Qin Chen's eyes suddenly lit up. He had already thought that this blood spirit pool was very likely to be something. If it was really so, then he would really make a big profit. Thinking of this, Qin Chen immediately followed the many genius martial artists and stepped into the formation.